At the engagement party, Hunter's childhood sweetheart, gone for years, crashed the gate. She was dressed to the nines, eyes rimmed red, locked in a long, soulful stare with him, looking more like the star of the evening than I, the bride-to-be. She said since she couldn't marry him, she would at least attend his engagement in full regalia and live out one self-deceiving dream. I laughed. No need for the drama. Sterling's just a man, want him? Sterling's yours. Before we continue, please subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. He is flying home for Hunter's and my engagement party. As one of the two principals in this event, I appear to be the last to know. Hunter is the perfect boyfriend. Because my stomach is delicate, Sterling never lets me eat takeout. Every evening Sterling comes home and cooks. The steady rhythm of knife on cutting board muffled the chime of his phone. When Sterling didn't hear it, I instinctively picked it up, thinking that if the message was important I could carry it into him. One glance and I froze. A group chat I'd never seen sat on his screen, probably brand new. The name was simple, No Woman's Own. Fitting. Besides me, Hunter and all his friends were inside. They were giddily discussing his return, planning her welcome home dinner, voices buzzing with anticipation, as though she, not I, were the one marrying Hunter in 2 days. I'd long known his circle didn't exactly adore me. In their eyes my arrival had shattered the fairy tale couple of Hunter and Quinn. If our lives were a novel, I was clearly the evil supporting actress. So I'd never expected full acceptance, only civility. Once Hunter and I stabilized, they began calling me sis, and invitations trickled in. I thought that counted as reluctant welcome, until those messages showed me how deluded I'd been. The chat was still running. It was Leo, friend to both Hunter and Quinn, asking if Hunter could make the welcome dinner on time. When no reply came, Leo tagged him outright. Skylar's flying halfway across the world, don't break her heart. Bro, radio silence? Don't tell me you're cooking for that woman again. You don't even like her, why the fake sense of duty? The words don't even like stabbed my eyes. Hunter doesn't like me? I didn't understand. If that were true, why had Sterling chased me, pampered me, even proposed? Leo grew more heated, the rest chiming in, the thread a carnival. After scrolling I found nothing useful, only noise, so I stopped reading, marked the messages unread, and carried the phone to the kitchen. Your phone kept buzzing. Might be something urgent. Just check it for me, you know I. Sterling took it, and the last word died on his tongue. Know what? I asked, eyes still on my Candy Crush screen. Nothing. Sterling offered a calm smile. I smiled back, both of us impeccable actors. I've never been magnanimous, love leaves no room for grit. I told him that the first time Sterling said Sterling wanted us, we were in college then. After a campus contest, two famous faces finally met in formal rivalry. Days later Sterling asked me out and solemnly declared Sterling wanted to pursue me. The first time, I refused outright. Why? Sterling asked. Because this feels like a whim, I said, and there's always that girl, Quinn, glued to your side. But she's just a sister to me. I still remember how his voice rose, as though volume could turn fiction to fact. Real sister? Shared DNA? Jamie, I simply smiled, picked up my bag, and left. Impossible, I told him. I won't play the tacit sibling game with a non-relative. I thought that ended us, yet Sterling froze Quinn out and clashed with the childhood gang just to prove sincerity. When I saw that, I gave him the chance, and we naturally became a couple. Quinn, unable to stomach it, obeyed her family and flew abroad. Hunter's buddies blamed me for her exile, though I'd done exactly nothing. I didn't confront him about the chat. 1. Sterling hadn't typed a word and might be unaware. 2. Years of kindness deserved more than a few screenshots as verdict. So I handed the phone back and left the choice to him. Who messaged? I asked, casual, beside him. Just spam. Sterling pocketed the screen. My heart sank a notch. Hunter, I gave you the exit, please don't disappoint me now. When I stayed silent Sterling set the phone face down, slid a plated dish into my hand. Must be starving, come eat. Sterling thinks the cover-up worked. Sterling doesn't realize I know him better than Sterling knows himself. The next day, one day before the ceremony, Sterling called, sudden overtime, home late, dinner on my own. I smiled, said sure, and the instant the line clicked off headed for the hotel they'd named for his welcome home dinner. Doubt, once born, demands eyewitness proof. I'd seen the private dining room name in last night's thread. Maybe the flight was delayed. When I arrived, Quinn still wasn't there. Hunter was talking with the others. I heard Leo ask him, bro, you really going through with marrying that woman? Man, if you don't even like her, and now Skylar's come back for you, why not dump her and be with Skylar instead? Hunter held a glass, stared at it for a long moment, then suddenly sighed and drained it in one gulp. I'm the one who started it, we've been together this long. Even if it's a mistake, I have to see it through to the end. Besides, Sterling added with a bitter smile, if I turn back now, I'd be letting Skylar down too. How laughable, he is his white moonlight, and I become the mistake Sterling has to see through to the end. Outside the private dining room, I listened, my fists clenching unconsciously, nails digging into my palms. It hurt, but the pain kept me calm enough to keep listening. Leo flared up at Hunter's words. What's the big deal? It's not like you don't love Skylar. And back then you only did what you did because you had no choice, right? From the rest of the conversation between Hunter and his friends, I learned the whole truth about why Sterling pursued me. Back then, his family company had a cash flow crisis. To help her, Hunter begged his parents to inject funds. Afraid it would be a bottomless pit, they refused at first, but they finally agreed to help the Lynns just once, on the condition that Hunter keep his distance from him from then on. At that point, Sterling and Quinn liked each other but hadn't confessed. His parents' demand tore him up, but for his sake Sterling agreed. To put his parents at ease, and to make Quinn give up, Sterling even started dating another girl. Later the Lynn family recovered, but he had already gone abroad. The two of them missed their chance for good. What a melodramatic, dog-blood tale of deep love and torment. If I weren't the poor sap Hunter had dragged in as a convenient shield, I'd have applauded them. The perfect boyfriend I thought I had turned out to be a liar. The blissful love I thought I'd found was nothing but a scam. If the timing weren't wrong, I'd have burst in, grabbed a bottle, and smashed it over Hunter's head, just to thank him properly. Thank him for letting me, at almost 30, understand myself more deeply the night before my engagement. Turns out I'm a colossal fool. I glanced at the time, he should arrive any minute. I switched off the recording on my phone. You don't make decisions while emotional, the moment to confront them hasn't come yet. Though my hands were shaking with anger, I forced myself to stay calm, planning to go back, tidy up the mess inside me, and figure out my next move. Marin? A voice behind me made me jump. I turned to see my not especially bright rich kid boss and buddy, Chase. What are you sneaking around for? Don't tell me. Sterling wore the classic expression of someone clutching popcorn at a drama. I quickly peeked back into the private dining room. Seeing no one inside had noticed, I exhaled, clamped a hand over his mouth, and hauled him into an empty room nearby. Spying for trade secrets? Or catching your boyfriend cheating? Seeing my grave face, Sterling dropped his voice and threw out wild guesses. When I still didn't answer, his own expression sobered. Sterling gently nudged my arm and said, Look, whatever it is, we don't break the law, okay? Shut up. I shot him a sideways glare. You breathe a word about seeing me here and I'll chop you. Chase shrank his neck. Fine, no need to be scary. Hunter came home very late that night. On nights Sterling worked overtime, no matter how late, I always waited up, but tonight I was already in bed with the lights off. Tired? Sterling asked, smiling when Sterling saw me lying there, and leaned in to kiss me. I turned my face away, his kiss landed on my cheek instead of my lips. Hunter froze. I gave him a light push. Go shower and sleep, we have an early start tomorrow. Okay. Sterling smiled gently, ruffled my hair, grabbed his clothes, and headed into the bathroom. Soon the sound of water started. I lifted a hand and scrubbed the spot Sterling kissed, feeling for the first time that his kisses were disgusting. Just then my phone on the pillow dinged. I picked it up, a friend request. From the avatar, clearly a girl. A girl adding me at this hour, there was only one possibility. I pressed my lips together and tapped accept. The other side had clearly been waiting. The instant I accepted, several photos flew in with the caption, You little thief, just wait. I'll take back everything that's mine. Looking at the pictures of the girl nestled in Hunter's arms, I had to admit she was pretty. They looked perfect together. It's just her brain. I actually laughed. Take back everything that's hers? She went abroad and came back. Does she think she's Empress returning to the palace? I screenshotted the photos and her profile in a flash, tossed the phone back onto the pillow, and ignored her completely. Maybe because she hit a wall with me, Quinn showed up at the engagement party the next day dressed to provoke. A body-skimming scarlet gown, an elaborate updo, flawless makeup, she looked more like the bride than I did. The moment she appeared, every eye tracked to her. Among the guests were family, friends, and plenty of the Sterling's business partners. Folks in the same circle recognized Quinn at once, head swiveled between her and me, nostrils flaring for gossip. "Alex," she said softly, walking straight up to Hunter, eyes rimmed red before she'd even spoken. The perfect picture of a pitiful beauty on the verge of tears. Seeing her outfit, Hunter blanked for a second. The two locked eyes, so wrapped up in each other they didn't notice Hunter's parents' faces darkening nearby. Well, where did this little demon come from, barging into someone's engagement party to outshine the bride? Just as Quinn opened her mouth to pour her heart out, my best friend Sloane lost patience and stepped in for me, shutting her down in one line. Before the two principals could respond, Leo jumped up, pointing at Sloane. "Watch your filthy mouth, what nonsense are you spouting?" "Hey, weird, I wasn't even talking about you, so why the meltdown?" "Don't tell me." Sloane left the rest hanging, letting her gaze sweep across the three of us, then shook her head with a theatrical tisk-tisk, face screaming, "Your little clique is a soap opera." Leo looked ready to explode. Then Sloane spun her cannon toward Hunter. "Yo, Hunter, did you forget who your fiancé is? Your wife-to-be is standing right here, so why are you making goo-goo eyes at another woman? And you, I was the final target. The other woman just crashed your party, and instead of shutting it down you're standing here watching the show? Fine." Queen Sloane distributes shade equally. "Hunter," I said, swallowing the nausea and stepping up to them, voice eerily calm. "Care to explain what this is?" "Marin," my coolness seemed to rattle him. "Let me explain." "Go ahead." "I'm listening." My tone froze him. Sterling suddenly had no idea where to start. "You wanted to explain, so talk." He couldn't take it anymore. "Enough. Stop cornering Alex, Sterling doesn't know anything. This is all my own idea. I've dreamed since I was little that one day I'd marry him. Now you've snatched him away, and I'm not here to steal him back. I just wanted to wear this dress and live the fantasy for 5 minutes. Is that such a crime?" As she spoke, the tears came, perfect, soap bubble drops, like she and Hunter were tragic star-crossed lovers and I was the wicked witch who tore them apart. I laughed in pure disgust and turned to Hunter. "Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're the one who chased me. How did I suddenly become the homewrecker?" "Looks like the girl's in tears, should we both kneel and kowtow to apologize?" A snort burst from Sloane's side of the table. She stealthily gave me a thumbs up. What should have been a perfect engagement party ended in a chaotic mess. Hunter's parents kept up stiff smiles while they saw guests out, their faces practically charcoal, then came to comfort me while still mopping up their son's disaster. "Marin, you're the daughter-in-law I've always wanted," his mother declared, loud enough for the whole room. "Don't worry, Hunter is yours. Anyone else can try, but I won't allow it." He went pale, sobbing in a corner, with Leo beside her playing consoler. "Marin, can we talk?" Hunter finally stepped over. His mom looked from him to me, sighed, patted my hand, and left us alone. "You sure you want to do this here?" I flicked my eyes toward the still crying Quinn. "In front of your childhood sweetheart?" Sterling hesitated, then led me outside to the hotel lounge. The moment we sat down, Sterling confessed, "I knew Skylar was coming to our engagement party. I just didn't expect her to show up in that dress." "You knew and didn't tell me?" Jamie stayed quiet for a beat. "I was afraid you'd be upset. And do I look thrilled right now?" "Hunter, after all these years you should know me, so don't treat me like an idiot. You're not scared I'd be upset, you're scared I'd say no and hurt your little sweetheart's feelings, so you went behind my back. When you made that call, you cared more about him than about me, and that's exactly why we're in this circus. Bottom line, you don't trust me, and in your heart Quinn matters more." Am I wrong? Hunter had nothing. I'd already felt empty. The second I saw those WhatsApp messages on his phone I'd wanted out. But everyone knew we were Casey about to get engaged. If I'd dumped him then, for any reason that hadn't blown up, most people would have branded me the drama queen. I wasn't the guilty party, why should I carry the blame? So I played clueless and let the pot boil. Once it exploded, in front of an audience, the reason to walk was undeniable. Yes, from the moment Quinn delivered her teen movie line I'd known she'd pull something. I just never thought she'd torch the whole set. Not only did I look bad, so did Hunter and his parents. "Since you can't let her go and we're not married yet, why don't we break up and you marry her? The gown and the venue are booked, you'd only need new photos, saves time and money." I thought it was a perfectly reasonable proposal. Instead of gratitude, Sterling looked wounded. Marin, you're ending us over this? What do our years together even mean? Now Sterling was playing victim. Staring at him, I almost answered, it means I hit the jackpot of bad luck. Sterling strung me along for 6, 7 years, and now, instead of a thank you for setting him free, Sterling dared blame me? You care so much about him, so I'm stepping aside to give you two a second chance. What's not to understand? Skylar is history. Believe me or not, I've never thought of breaking up with you. I only ever wanted to marry you, so I should be grateful? I laughed in his face. Hand me the marriage, hand Quinn the love, then spend our loveless marriage mourning the romance you never sealed with Skylar? Hunter, I never realized you were such a creative player. That's not. I didn't let him finish. Doesn't matter. You know I don't toss empty words when it comes to relationships. I'm telling you, we're done. This isn't a discussion, it's a notice. When I finished, Hunter's face was paper white. I can procrastinate about anything, except love. I ended it at lunch. By mid-afternoon I was at Sloane's door with a suitcase full of clothes and toiletries. Years of friendship meant no explanation was needed. She took the case, hauled it inside, and asked, made peace with it? Made peace with it. Gonna miss him? Of course I would. After all this time Hunter's love might have been fake, but mine wasn't. Yet no matter how much I missed him, I had to let go. I've got lethal relationship OCD. I can't swallow half-cooked rice. Forget I asked, Sloane waved, reading my silence. Damn earth signs, don't you get tired of twisting yourselves into knots? Tired is tired, sure, but I've always lived this twisted way, what else can I do? I kicked off my heels inside the door, flopped onto Sloane's couch, and let out a long sigh. You know, I never got much favor in my family. The hurt I swallowed as a kid, I'm not about to swallow it again in the name of love. Sam walked over, sat beside me, and pulled me into a silent hug, palms gently patting my back the way you soothe a child. Don't be sad. If they won't love you, I will. Feel sorry for me now, huh? Admit it, you're feeling sorry for me. I grinned like I didn't care, craning to catch the look on Sloane's face. She swatted me. Sit still. Fine. Life after Hunter didn't actually change that much. The biggest difference was the person who made dinner after work. Used to be him, now it's Sloane. Then Chase started joining us for those dinners. Sloane and I go way back, and Chase was our college classmate. We met by chance, found out Sterling was a lovable trust fund doofus with deep pockets, and decided to drag him into our startup. Sterling put up the money, we supplied the hustle, and somehow we slapped the whole scrappy operation together. Plenty of people clucked their tongues, sure we were clowning around. A few years later our little circus is suddenly a real company and still growing. Lately the three of us had been plotting to break into the European market. I was the obvious choice to spearhead it, but the wedding with Hunter put the plan on ice. Now that we're done, I've got nothing holding me back, time to roll up my sleeves and go. When I brought it up again, Chase studied me. Marin, this trip could keep you overseas a year, maybe more. You sure? What's to be unsure about? I shrugged, smiling. Conservation of energy, right? I lost in love, so let me win at work. Realizing I wasn't joking, Sloane locked eyes with Chase. Chase nodded. All right, then you. My ringtone cut him off. Unknown number. I figured it was spam and declined. The caller was persistent. Decline, call back, decline, call back. Finally Sloane said, answer it. A salesman this stubborn deserves a hearing. Surprise, it wasn't a salesman. It was Leo. Background noise blared. Sterling was in a bar or karaoke box somewhere. Marin, Hunter's wasted and keeps asking for you. Can you come? Hunter's drunk and you call me? I'm not a hangover cure. I rolled my eyes. Call Quinn if you have to. Didn't you always want them together? Here's your shot. Maybe your favorite ship finally sails. Leo sputtered, stunned into silence. I hung up and turned to Sloane and Chase. Where were we? Keep talking. We were. Chase got 2 words out before the phone rang again. Now I was mad. I answered, are you deaf? From the day I dumped Hunter, Sterling, you, and your whole crew ceased to exist. Leave me alone. Ran, it's me. Hunter's voice, thick with booze. You blocked me. I had to borrow Leo's phone. I miss you. I was wrong. Please come back. Come back? I paused, then gave a cold laugh. Come back, to what? And where does that leave Quinn? I don't love her anymore. I thought I couldn't let go, but it was just an obsession. Ran, the one I love is you, Hunter, I said, suddenly feeling sorry, for him, maybe for myself, you really are scum. A long silence answered me. Just as I decided Sterling was finished and started to lower the phone, Leo's voice leaked through, quieter, like Sterling was scolding Hunter. Why even chase her? You treated her like gold, gave up Skylar for her, and she doesn't give a damn. A heartless bitch like that deserves no love. No wonder mommy and daddy didn't love her, no wonder her childhood sucked. I'd put the call on speaker so we could eat. The moment those words hit the air, Sloane's and Chase's faces darkened. Sloane slammed the table. Watch your filthy mouth. Panic crept into Hunter's voice. Ran, a dress, I cut in coldly. What? Tell me where you are. Didn't you say you wanted to see me? I'm on my way. After a beat, Sterling rattled off a location before I lost patience. I've got an errand. I ended the call, grabbed my coat from the sofa, and headed for the door. Hey, we're coming too, Sloane said, yanking Chase along. Chase blinked. Why are we going? Sloane jerked a thumb at my back. To make sure she doesn't kill anyone. I followed Hunter's directions. When I stepped into the private room, only Sterling and Leo were left. Hunter's eyes lit up the second Sterling saw me, then dimmed again as if something occurred to him. Ran, I'm S. Sterling probably wanted to apologize, but I shut him up with a slap sharp enough to sting my palm. Hey! Jordan barked. I swiveled toward him. You want one too? Sterling meant to defend Hunter, but either guilt or my glare made him clamp his mouth shut. Having fun, Hunter? I turned back to him. Spinning the hurts I told you in confidence into jokes for your buddies, so they can laugh at me, pity me, stab me, how fun is that? I didn't, Sterling protested, white as paper, voice feeble. No? I gave a thin laugh. Then how do they know? I only ever told you, didn't I? Not long after we started dating, my mother somehow dug up my address and came knocking for money. Her son needed a down payment on a condo. Hunter happened to be there. That day was the first time Sterling seen me completely lose control. After I threw my mother out, Sterling looked shaken too. I had never told him about the mess at home, not because I wanted to hide it, I simply thought it didn't matter. But since Sterling walked in on it and asked, I laid it out. The story isn't complicated. In a family that prizes sons over daughters, the girl is always ignored, her interests always sacrificed. When we were kids, they bought my brother fried chicken. To keep me from asking for a bite, they made me wait outside in the dead of winter. They forgot to come back. I stood there until nightfall, nearly freezing to death in the snow. When I grew older, they saved every penny for my brother's bride price. They took $100,000 dowry from the village idiot, hid my college acceptance letter, and tried to marry me off to him. I still remember the ache in Hunter's eyes when Sterling heard it. Sterling pulled me into his arms like I was fragile glass and asked why I hadn't told him sooner. I answered plainly, the wounds of childhood aren't medals, I don't parade them for pity, and I don't need to keep reopening them. The helpless little girl had grown up, she'd become her own strongest shield. She deserves anyone's love, and she can just as easily watch anyone leave, Hunter included. So I told him, if one day you love someone else, just say the word. I'll walk away clean, no drama. What did Sterling say back then? Oh, right, I love you. I'll protect you. I'll never leave. Funny how Sterling protected me. Hunter, I said, looking straight at him, you never loved me as much as you pretended. I dissected him, calm and merciless. If you truly loved me, you wouldn't have let your boys disrespect me. If you truly loved me, you wouldn't have tossed the things I never wanted to talk about into their laps like gossip. Let me guess how you framed it to them. I gave a cold laugh. You told them how tragic my childhood was, how sorry you were you'd ever involved yourself with me, but, hey, you're a responsible man, so for the sake of honor you'd grit your teeth and stay with poor, damaged me, right? When you said you loved me, what were you really thinking? Look how noble I am, rescuing her? No, Marin, I do love you, I swear, it's just that you hadn't figured out your heart yet? The sarcasm dripped off my tongue. I pulled out my phone, showed him the taunting text he had sent me, then played the recording of the conversation Sterling had with his buddies that night. "So this is your love? Kind of hilarious. And what about you?" Realizing I wasn't coming back, Hunter exploded. Sterling shot to his feet and shouted, "Why do you have to be so ruthless? Do you even love me at all? These years, haven't I treated you well? You're dumping me over one little thing?" Okay, I admit I hadn't gotten over Quinn, but it's not like I committed some huge crime. She came after me and I still chose you. Why can't you forgive me just this once? Oh, hell no, Hunter, listen to yourself. That's your idea of an apology? Sloane, who'd arrived a step behind me, shoved open the private dining room door just in time to hear that line. She couldn't take it, she rolled up her sleeves and charged, only for Chase to yank her back. "Easy, Tiger. We're here to keep Marin from committing murder, not to let you beat the guy to the punch, literally. Those two clowns. Their bickering let the tight knot in my chest unravel." I stepped forward, patted Sloane calm, then lifted a glass of wine and walked it over to Hunter. I studied his face for 2 heartbeats, and threw the wine straight in it. "Hunter, I was never the one who was wrong. Not at the start, not now. If you didn't like what you saw, you shouldn't have chased me. Even after all these years, I was never your only option. You wanted to make do, you should have asked if I was willing to settle. I came here today for one reason, to tell you to your face, you're fake, and you're disgusting." I didn't wait to see his expression. One hand grabbing Sloane, the other grabbing Chase, I spun toward the door. On my way out my gaze brushed Leo. I paused. "Almost forgot, same goes for you." Out in the corridor Sloane looked almost disappointed. "I figured you'd curse him bloody or at least land a punch. You let him off easy." I thought about it on the ride over. Then decided it wasn't worth it. My birth family, Hunter, if they're out of my life, they don't get to hijack my emotions anymore. Sounds so simple, Sloane snorted. Then why show up at all? Could you leave me a shred of dignity? I smacked her back. I'm not a saint, I've got feelings. Moving on takes a minute, okay? Fine, fine, she surrendered, hands in the air. So, Miss Vance, what's your next move? What else? Men are unreliable, time to chase the bag. The overseas expansion plan was locked and loaded within days. I hugged Sloane and Chase goodbye, boarded my flight with a smile, and vanished for 3 years. Those years were a blur of work that left me fulfilled. I never once checked up on Hunter. The night before I flew home, Sloane rang to say she'd pick me up. Chatting, we zigzagged from topic to topic until we somehow landed on him. Sterling and Quinn imploded. Sterling's drifted from the old crew too. Out of nowhere Sterling cornered me asking about you, said Sterling wait till you're back. What Sterling does is his freedom. Means nothing to me. I was miles past caring, so I could say it lightly. Long ago I warned Hunter, I'm no magnanimous saint. Anyone who hurts me gets zero forgiveness. Maybe I should thank him, and every other person who ever cut me. They taught me no one is born deserving love, and no one owes you forever love. So I won't wait around for love, and I sure won't twist myself small to keep someone else's. Loving yourself hard, that's the whole truth of life. Thanks for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If you liked it, like and share. Drop your thoughts below, subscribe for more, and see you next time.
My cold, abstinent husband took off his gold-rimmed spectacles. With the same motion he used to wipe the scalpel, he polished the lenses unhurriedly. Then, from a hidden compartment in the bookshelf, he drew out a silver-gleaming chain. Click! He locked the study door from the inside. Step by step he came toward me, tore the divorce papers to confetti, and tossed them skyward. Paper snow. His voice, though, was ice-quenched in fire. Serena, 3 years of marriage, have I left you unsatisfied? So now you want to go find someone who can satisfy you? I stared at Dr. Sterling, my heart ricocheting inside my ribs. It's all an act. Act, Serena. Don't freak out, he's only a paper tiger. What damage can a frigid academic do? Today we divorce, period. I'm not letting my youth rot in this mausoleum. I inhaled, squared my shoulders, and forced every tremor out of my voice. Dr. Sterling, what is this illegal detention? Let's part on good terms, Don't make it ugly. He smiled. Not the polite smile he hands out to students, but the kind a top predator shows when the mask slips and the fangs glint. He dangled the cold chain in front of me. The links chimed, bright, dangerous. Ugly? He repeated the word softly, tasting it. I think it's just starting to get interesting. He advanced. I retreated until the small of my back met the hard edge of the desk. No way out. I snatched the nearest hardcover and hurled it without thinking. Stay back! Dr. Sterling didn't even flinch. Gray landed on his shoulder with a dull thud, then thumped to the carpet. He never blinked. The eyes that usually peered down microscopes now mapped my face inch by inch. That gaze made my scalp prickle. Such feeble strength? He closed his fingers around my wrist, effortless. His hand was cold, carrying the scent of disinfectant and fur from years in climate-controlled labs, but the chill burned like fire against my skin. Help! Why is his grip so strong? Aren't bookworms supposed to be fragile? Liars! I struggled. It felt like being clamped in iron. Dr. Sterling, let go, you psycho. He bent, warm breath brushing my ear. The tickle made me squirm. He noticed and deliberately leaned closer. Serena, the silk pajamas you gave me for our anniversary weren't this color. There's no man's shirt like this in your closet either. And this photo. From the scattered confetti he picked up the fake cheating evidence Chloe had helped me stage, me in skimpy silk, nestling against a ripped poolboy type, sugary smile in place. Dr. Sterling traced the guy's abs with one finger, motion languid, gaze arctic. Body fat under 8%, biceps 42 centimeters pumped, classic product of a fitness studio. High burst, low stamina. He lifted his eyes to mine. Can he satisfy you? His scholarly tone ignited me. Whether he can is none of your business. We're divorcing. Divorce? He sounded as if I'd told the century's best joke. Who agreed? He yanked me against him. The chain met my wrist. Click. A soft, metallic snap. I looked down at the silver bracelet of captivity, mind blank. He'd actually locked me up. WTF-X3. Script rewrite. Chloe, your intel never flagged bondage kinks. Dr. Sterling savored my shock, lips curving. He lifted my cuffed hand like a curator admiring art, then whispered against my ear, each syllable a spell. Now let's begin our after-dark lab session. Topic: how, precisely, to make you satisfied. No lights on in the study. Curtains sealed every crack of outside glow. Only the spectral glow of his monitor lit his refined features, half savior, half demon. He pressed me onto the desk, the chain's other end locked to a leg. Humiliating and electrifying. Stay on mission, Serena, you came to divorce, not for captivity roleplay. But damn, this version of him beats the ice sculpture. Get a grip. Where's your pride? Dr. Sterling, this is felony. Let me go now and I'll pretend nothing happened. I bluffed. He ignored me, opened a folder stuffed with videos. Neural conduction. Pain threshold response. Muscle spasm triggers. Mitigation. Dopamine peak lab logs. Study hall? Only a bio prof could make kink look like peer review. He played the first clip, a white mouse convulsing under timed shocks while a detached voice narrated. Stimulating specific neural nodes elicits maximal stress response without permanent damage. My stomach lurched. Why show me this? Dr. Sterling finally looked away from the screen. Spectacles caught its light, hiding his eyes. Simply informing you, Serena, I know your body better than you do. I know where to press to make you cry, and where to make you. A pause, voice a demon's hush. Beg me. A shiver shot from tailbone to skull, fear laced with something illicit. He stood, circling, cold fur scent now edged with predation. His fingertip, icy and precise, landed on one spot through my thin blouse. I nearly melted, acid, tingles, static fireworks scorching every limb. Posterior cervical plexus superficial exit, he lectured, clinical. Gentle pressure induces systemic weakness. OMG, zero strength left. Knowledge really is power. I sagged, only his arm kept me from sliding to the floor. Dr. Sterling, you bastard. Tears cracked my voice, real or staged even I couldn't tell. Bastard? He chuckled, fingers skating down my spine, each vertebra a fuse. Patience, you'll soon meet the genuine bastard. His hand settled on the small of my back, kneading. I became boneless, whimpering like a kitten. Stop. Dying here. Feels 100 times hotter than DIY. Just as my vision blurred, my phone blared, Chloe. I lunged for my bag. My phone. Dr. Sterling picked it up, answered on speaker. Chloe's brassy voice burst out, Serena. Did the iceberg sign? Are you free and ready to hunt poolboy types at the bar? Silence thick enough to slice. I could count the slow, deliberate beats of Dr. Sterling's heart. Then, in the calm baritone perfect for science narrations, he said, she's unavailable. We're busy. Busy having a private anatomy tutorial. He hung up and looked down at me, eyes black ice depths. Pool boy types? I woke the next day feeling disassembled and reassembled, especially my lower back, sore and limp. That animal Dr. Sterling had treated me like a living textbook, running experiments all night. I shifted, the chain on my wrist jingled, still locked, now to the headboard. Empty space beside me, sheets still holding his cold fur scent. Slender sunlight slipped through the drapes, dust motes dancing. Our master bedroom, he'd carried me here after the study. Jerk. Worked me half to death, now off lecturing his darling students? I sat up in the crumpled men's shirt, buttons gaping to reveal love bites, his data set. I flushed crimson. On the nightstand, a glass of water, 2 pills, and a note in Dr. Sterling's crisp, razor-sharp handwriting. Morning after pill or ibuprofen, pick one. I'll be back at 4. Wait for me at home. He's giving me a choice? Gee, thanks. At least he remembered painkillers, how thoughtful. Wait, why should I take anything? Why should I wait? I crumpled the note, hurled it to the floor. Run. I had to run. If I didn't, his research would kill me. I scanned the room for something to pick the lock. Hairpin? Too thin. Lamp base? Too heavy. My gaze landed on the bedside table, the gold-rimmed spectacles Dr. Sterling had left there last night. Perfect. I grabbed them, straightened one temple, and eased it into the keyhole. Thank you, teenage crime shows. Holding my breath, I teased the pins the way I remembered. 1 minute. 2. Come on, you piece of crap block. Where does a psycho even buy this stuff? Just as I was about to give up. Click. A whisper-soft snap. Unlocked. Heart racing, I uncoiled the silver chain, bolted barefoot into the hall without even changing clothes. Empty living room. I sprinted to the foyer and yanked the front door open. Outside, brilliant sun, clean ocean air. Freedom, here I come. 1 foot over the threshold, a flicker above the door stopped me cold. In the corner of the ceiling, a pinhole lens blinked red. A camera. When had he installed it? I jerked my head, sweeping the whole space. Between books, behind a potted palm, even inside the AC vent. Dozens. The maniac had turned our home into a surveillance lab. How long had I been living under his gaze? Since I filed for divorce? Or the day we said I do? Ice shot up my spine, my limbs went numb. My phone vibrated in my pocket. Trembling, I pulled it out. A text from Dr. Sterling. A photo. Me, frozen on the threshold, eyes wide with terror. Underneath. Serena, I told you, wait at home. Don't even think about running. Otherwise the next experiment won't be on the bed. I collapsed on the cold tile, every ounce of strength drained. The image on screen felt like a sneer. Dr. Sterling was an invisible net, and I was tangled beyond escape. Monster. What does he want? How can he play respected professor by day and psychotic jailer by night? The doorbell rang. I flinched, terrified he'd come back early. But on the video intercom I saw Chloe's anxious face. Serena! Open up! Are you okay? Did that sicko hurt you? Chloe, my lifeline. I scrambled over and flung the door wide. She burst in and hugged me so hard my ribs creaked. Thank God you're alive. When your call cut out, I didn't sleep. Did Dr. Sterling? Her gaze dropped to the red bracelets on my wrists, the bruises on my neck. She gasped. Holy, he actually locked you up. I sobbed, pouring out every scrap of last night's terror, though I skipped the parts that made my cheeks burn. Just said he'd gone crazy, chained me, threatened me. Ellis's brows shot up. Respectable on the surface, twisted underneath, I knew that Ice Face was bad news. She checked my bruises while cursing. We call the cops. This is false imprisonment. Police? I hesitated. One call and the scandal would explode. Dr. Sterling's reputation, both our family's business alliance. Family shame stays inside. And how could I describe last night to a stranger? Chloe rapped my forehead, exasperated. Still dithering? Waiting till he buries you? Then she leaned in, voice dropping, eyes sparkling. But seriously, turns out the guy's got stamina, huh? Me, why is her radar always in the gutter? I shoved her, blushing. Focus! This isn't the time. Sure it is. Riley's smirk said she'd seen through me. You filed because you thought he was decorative. Now that he's proved otherwise, how's it feel? Horrible. He's insane. Yeah. She pointed at my mouth. Then why the smirk? After a whole night you're practically glowing. Speechless, I touched my cheek, hot, probably pink. Chloe sighed, the all-knowing best friend. Stop faking. You're thrilled and terrified. Still, those cameras are sick. Let's rip them out. She began hunting them down. Jesus, here's one, another behind the fern. How insecure is this guy? Balancing on a chair, she reached for the AC vent. Beep beep. The keypad lock sang. Door swung open. Dr. Sterling stepped in 2 hours early, strawberry mousse cake box in hand. He took in Chloe mid-sabotage. The mild look vanished. Air solidified. He toed off his shoes, set the cake on the coffee table, then fixed Chloe with arctic eyes. Sam. Breaking and entering, plus vandalism. Shall I dial 911 for you? Chloe flinched, climbing down. Your vent looked dusty. Thought I'd clean it. Believable? Not even to herself. Ignoring her, he turned to me, gaze asking, "This is your rescue squad?" I stared at my toes. Professor, Serena's my friend. I'm allowed to worry, Chloe snapped, grasping for dignity. Worry? He chuckled, sliding an arm around my waist, cool palm branding my skin. I went rigid. My wife is my concern. He spoke to me, voice silk, message meant for her. Serena, did I neglect you so badly your friend feels obliged to intervene? His fingers pressed, a quiet warning. Jerk, same old trick. If I squeaked yes, tonight's curriculum would be advanced anatomy. I forced a smile that felt like plastic. No, you've been perfect. Good. He kissed my forehead, satisfied. Chloe's jaw dropped. She resembled a hooked fish. She had to be wondering how last night's mortal enemies had morphed into lovebirds. Dr. Sterling straightened, civility erased. Sam, unless you plan to dust the entire condo, leave. My wife needs rest. A naked eviction. Chloe flushed, shot me a "you are so spineless" glare, grabbed her bag, and stormed out. Click of the latch, and silence swallowed us. Instantly his embrace tightened. Unwell? His breath scorched my ear. Yet you seemed lively while tattling to your friend. I dared not move. I didn't tattle. No? He snorted. Then why was she dismantling my property? Before I could invent an excuse, he released me. Braced for wrath, I stepped back. Instead, he opened the cake box. A perfect strawberry mousse cake, my favorite bakery. He slid it toward me, voice flat. Eat. I blinked. Carrot after stick. More like fatten the specimen before dissection. I didn't touch it. Silence thickened. Finally, quietly, wearily, almost hurt, he said, I scrolled through 6 months of your search history. You bookmarked 137 food channels, 82 were desserts. Your shopping cart changed with the seasons, yet you kept the voucher for this place. I thought, you still liked it. He looked at me, and the madness was gone. In its place was something like the bewilderment of a child who has broken a vase and doesn't know how it happened. What did I do wrong? What do you want? Why won't you just tell me? That man in the photo, what does he have that I don't? I was completely stunned. He wasn't raging, wasn't threatening. He was asking, dead serious. The confusion and hurt in his eyes were real, and I suddenly understood this man I'd always seen as towering, invincible, was, inside our marriage, perhaps even clumsier than I was. His brain, crammed full of knowledge and logic, had no subroutine for something as unreasonable as feelings. He loved me the way he conducted research, clumsily, obsessively, and with a heat that terrified me. My heart skipped a beat without warning. At that exact moment, Dr. Sterling's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, brows pinching almost imperceptibly. He walked onto the balcony, voice kept low. I caught scattered words: project, data, stop pushing. When he came back, his face was darker than before. He looked at me and asked, "Tell me, Serena, what do you actually want?" I was struck dumb. What did I want? 3 years ago I wanted to marry him, to be Mrs. Sterling. For 3 years I'd wanted him to love me, to hold me, kiss me, like any normal husband. 3 days ago I'd wanted to leave him, to go find a passion that burned for real. But now, staring at the mingled obsession and bewilderment in his eyes, I felt uncertain. I want you to treat me the way you did last night. The thought shocked me so badly I flinched. Have I lost my mind? Locked up one night and already brainwashed? While I was wrestling with myself, my own phone rang. An unknown number. Instinct said hang up, but Dr. Sterling flicked a glance and commanded softly, "Answer." No room for refusal. I swallowed and picked up. "Hello?" A bright male voice burst through. "Hey, is this Serena? It's your personal trainer, Coach. You've ghosted me for 2 whole weeks. Did you forget your torture coach?" It was the model, no, the fitness coach. To make that fake affair photo believable, I'd actually enrolled at a studio and posed with their hottest trainer. I shot a guilty look at Dr. Sterling. He stared back, expressionless, yet the gaze alone made it hard to breathe. Dead, dead, dead. Of all the times to call, you pick now. Are you his undercover agent? I forced a laugh, scrambling. "Oh, Coach! I've been swamped. I'll come next week. Don't bail, Casey. You paid for an annual membership. Think of the days you're wasting. And you told me you wanted peach emoji glutes. I designed a brand new program just for you, guaranteed results." The call was on speaker. The words peach emoji glutes floated across the living room like a death sentence. The temperature seemed to plummet to freezing. I watched a dangerously slow curve lift the corner of Dr. Sterling's mouth. Before I could speak, he plucked the phone from my hand. I was still blinking when he lifted it to his ear and, in the cool, clinical register he reserved for rival scholars, said, "Hi, I'm her husband." Coach faltered. "Huh? Casey's married?" "Yes," Dr. Sterling answered, tone flat but crushing. Dr. Sterling, Eastbrook University, principal investigator. He always introduced himself that way in academia, the shortest path to establishing intellectual dominance. And now he was using it on a would-be rival. Pure dimensional slaughter. Silence on the line. A gym trainer versus a tenured professor, the gap was a canyon. My wife's fitness plan is now under my supervision. You're relieved of the duty. I'll personally collect her body metrics. As for those peach emoji glutes, he paused, eyes raking over me like a scalpel. I'll make sure she develops them. So don't call her again. Understood? Quiet voice, every syllable a knife. Coach squeaked, "Why yes, sir," and hung up. Swift, clean, merciless. I sat gaping. So this is a bloodbath in the wild? Using the most academic language to commit the most savage act. He just said, he'll measure my body data himself? And train me for peach emoji glutes? My face detonated in a blush. Dr. Sterling tossed the phone back. Looking down at me, he announced, "We need a talk. About your social circle." I assumed the talk would happen in the study or the bedroom. Instead, he ushered me straight into the car. "Where are we going?" I buckled up, heart skittering. Not some forest clearing to dispose of the body, right? Wait, he's an intellectual, surely too refined for blunt violence. He'll anesthetize me, turn me into a specimen, display me in his lab with a plaque, "Anatomy of an Unfaithful Wife." The more I pictured it, the paler I became. Dr. Sterling glanced over. "Stop the mental horror movie. How does he know what I'm imagining? Hidden pinhole cams aren't enough, now he's installed a mind reader too?" "Your face is an open book," he said, pulling out of the complex, a faint smile in his voice. We glided to a stop in front of a luxury hotel. The banner read, "Annual Gala of Eastbrook University School of Life Sciences." I stared. "You brought me here for this? You're Mrs. Sterling." "Attending the functions I'm expected at as part of the job." He unclipped my seatbelt and smoothed a stray lock of hair, gentle as if handling porcelain. But I knew the gesture. Public branding, leading me into his territory, tagging me for every witness. "She's mine." Hand in hand we entered the ballroom. Gold chandeliers, champagne fountains, academic royalty. The moment Dr. Sterling appeared, flashbulbs of attention ignited. "Professor Sterling's here. Your neuroregeneration paper was transcendent, doctor. And this must be Mrs. Sterling, stunning." Eyes pinned on me, envy, curiosity, judgment. I kept my smile stapled in place, playing the flawless wife. He worked the crowd, never releasing my hand. His palm was furnace hot, a shackle of intent. We were seated at the head table. Under everyone's gaze he performed perfect husbandry, choosing bites for me, fielding toasts. A textbook act. Keep acting. Any onlooker would nominate us couple of the year. Only I know that under the table his knee is slowly, rhythmically, brushing my leg. The whisper of contact through thin silk made me forget how to breathe. I shot him a covert glare. He ignored it, pressure increasing. His hand slipped beneath the linen and settled on my thigh. I jolted, nearly yelping. "Lunatic! We're in public. There are 100 witnesses." I pinched him hard. He trapped my fingers, interlacing them with his. Leaning in, lips at my ear, he breathed, "Don't move. Squirm again and I'll kiss you right here." Amusement and threat twined together. I went statue still. Just then a woman in a scarlet gown approached, new associate professor in his department, the one I'd seen in a photo tucked inside one of his monographs. Dr. Moore's gaze clung to Dr. Sterling like Velcro. "Professor Sterling, long time. I hear you're launching a new project. Any chance I could join the team?" She inched closer, acting as if I were decorative furniture. "Here it comes, classic mistress audition. Perfect. Let him sample the outside world and kick the old wife to the curb." Ready to enjoy the show, I waited. Without even looking at Dr. Moore, Dr. Sterling turned to me, tender as twilight. "Serena, what do you think?" I blinked. "Huh? What do I think?" "Dr. Moore wants in on my project," he explained, "but my lab has a rule, no unmarried students, especially those prone to unrealistic fantasies about my marital status." His voice wasn't loud, yet the surrounding tables quieted as if he dimmed the sound system. Dr. Moore's face blanched tomato red. Unbothered, he dabbed the corner of my mouth with a napkin. My wife is possessive, he told the room conversationally, and terribly short on. I need to set her mind at ease. With that, he lifted his head and swept the room with a gaze so cold it felt like he was pronouncing an absolute truth. Every minute and every ounce of energy I have, apart from my research, belongs to her alone. On the ride home from the hotel, the car was silent. I kept my face turned to the window, neon rivers of city light streaming across the glass. My heart felt like those streaks of color, chaotic, tangled. Was he defending me just now? Or was it just raw possessiveness, the refusal to let anyone touch what's his? Jealous, insecure, was he talking about me, or about himself? Back at the house, I changed my shoes without a word and headed for the bedroom. Dr. Sterling stopped me. Serena. He rarely uses my full name, only when he's furious, or deadly serious. I paused and turned. He stood under the entry light, his tall shadow stretched long across the floor. This time he didn't crowd me, he simply looked. Why? Why what? Why did you force me toward divorce, like that? A faint rasp of restraint quivered in his voice. So here it comes. The question that has hung over me like Damocles' sword was finally dropping. I drew a deep breath and decided to throw caution to the wind. Because you don't love me at all. The grievances of 3 years exploded out of me. Dr. Sterling, we've been married 3 years. How many times have you touched me? How many times have you held me? You barely even look at me. Aside from your lab, your papers, your mice, do you even see your wife? I've been an idiot guarding this empty house, guarding a husband who treats me like air. I'm done. I refuse to live like a widow in everything but name. I finished shouting, chest heaving, tears slipping down before I could stop them. Dr. Sterling said nothing. He simply listened, and for the first time his usually blank face showed shock and pain. He watched me cry like a prisoner hearing a death sentence. A long, long time passed, so long I thought he'd never speak. Then, hoarse and deliberate, he said, I thought restraint was the best protection I could give you. I froze. What? The first time I saw you was at your father's birthday party. He lowered his eyes as if summoning a distant memory. You wore a white dress, feeding cats in the garden. Sunlight poured over you, you looked like an angel that glowed. He remembers our first meeting? I was sure he'd forgotten. Later, we married. His voice dropped even lower. I saw you every single day, shared a roof with you. I was so happy I thought I'd lose my mind. But I was also terrified. I feared my touch would soil you. There's a hideous beast inside me, one I barely recognize, brimming with filthy, frantic hunger for you. I fight it daily because I'm afraid it will escape, terrify you, hurt you. He lifted his head, his eyes were rimmed red. This man who's always cool and composed was bearing his weakest self. So I dared not touch you, dared not come too close. I believed that if I kept my distance, if I poured everything into work, the beast would stay caged. I thought that way I could guard my angel, but I was wrong. My control, my distance, in your eyes they became coldness, absence of love. I personally pushed the treasure I cherish most farther and farther away. My mind went blank. So, that's how it was? It wasn't that he didn't love me. He loved me. Too much? So much it made him feel unworthy, made him afraid? My ridiculous fake affair scheme now looked like a bad joke. I thought I was peeling off his indifferent mask, only to discover I'd torn open the prison he'd built for himself. I'd released the very beast he'd fought to suppress. I stared at him, speechless. The anguish and regret in his eyes crashed over me like a hammer. All the grievances of 3 years had stemmed from a monstrous misunderstanding. The one-way love I believed in had actually been mutual, we'd only sprinted in opposite directions. What have I done? I drove him insane. I let the most terrifying creature in his heart loose. Guilt surged, wave after wave. I wanted to tell him the photos were fake, the whole thing staged. I wanted to apologize. But the instant I opened my mouth, he stepped forward and handed me a folder from his pocket. "What's this?" I took it with shaking hands. "Open it." I did. Page 1, Coach's detailed profile, birth date, Jordan, education, resume, romantic history, even which fitness studio he visits at which hour and which members he's befriended. Exhaustive, terrifyingly precise. I flipped. Page 2, Coach's finances, bank flows, credit card statements, online loan records. One overdue loan of $50,000 was circled in red, 92 days delinquent. Pages 3, 4, all dirt on Coach, black and reeking. The more I read, the more my hands trembled. This wasn't a background check, it was dismantling a life down to the bolts. How had Dr. Sterling gathered it so fast? What power had he mobilized? I didn't dare imagine. "Dr. Sterling, you." I originally planned to erase him, he cut in, tone as casual as a weather report. "There are many ways: stage an accident, or bury him under debt so deep he'd have to vanish from the city. With his social web, if he disappeared, no one would look too hard." My blood chilled inch by inch. I didn't doubt him for a second. If he said it, he could do it. That all-powerful, ice-cold scientist possessed reach and ruthlessness far beyond my imagination. "But," he went on, eyes blazing, "I've decided to leave the choice to you." "What choice?" "The choice to destroy him yourself." He drew out a photograph, the intimate shot of Coach and me, and laid it beside a printed statement, Coach's signed agreement to resign and leave town voluntarily. "You can send this photo to his girlfriend. You can expose his debt to the fitness studio. Or you can simply use this waiver and make him disappear." He watched me like a patient devil. "Pick one, Serena. Show me how you dispose of the man who made you unhappy with me." I held the thick folder, it felt burning hot. I finally understood what sort of man I'd provoked. I'd lit the fire, now it threatened to burn me to ash. Looking into the madness and anticipation in his eyes, I knew I had no retreat. Today I had to give him an answer, or that poor, innocent fitness coach might actually vanish. I inhaled, lifted my head, and met Dr. Sterling's stare. Those eyes seethed with frenzy and expectation I couldn't read. My heart hammered. Every word I was about to speak would decide the fate of all three of us. No more mistakes. "Serena, you're an adult, clean up your own mess." I placed the folder, photograph and all, back into his hand. Then, in front of him, I picked up the fake divorce papers and tore them to shreds. His pupils shrank to pinpricks. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," I answered, each word ringing clear, "the divorce is off." He said nothing, he only stared, weighing my sincerity. I summoned every ounce of courage and stepped closer. "And," I whispered, raising a trembling hand to his cheek, "this photo is fake. The man was a model I hired, there's nothing between us. I did it because I thought you didn't love me. I wanted to force you to let me go, to give me freedom. I was wrong, Dr. Sterling. Terribly wrong." Tears burst free, I flung myself into his arms and sobbed. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I lost count of how many times I repeated it. 3 years of grievance, misunderstanding, fear, and the love that had just begun to bloom became salt water soaking his shirt. Dr. Sterling's body was rigid. He stood, letting me cling and cry. After an eternity, I felt the faintest sigh brush my hair. Then cold, careful arms closed slowly around me. "So," his voice shook with disbelief. "You do love me. You only thought I didn't love you enough?" I couldn't speak. I nodded frantically against his chest. In the next instant the world spun, he swept me up off my feet and laid me on the soft wool rug in the living room. Leaning over me, eyes level with mine, all the madness, obsession, and pain drained away. What replaced it was a kind of pure, scorching rapture I'd never seen before. Like a traveler who's trudged through a desert for 3 nights and finally glimpses an oasis. He smiled. It was the first time I'd ever seen him smile like that. Not the polite, distant curve of lips he usually offered. but a radiant, almost blinding grin that came from the heart. "Serena." He lowered his head and kissed me. This kiss was nothing like any of last night's. No punishment, no plunder, no venting. Only the treasured relief of recovering something lost, and a love that poured out everything he had. He coaxed my lips apart, claimed every inch, tangling with me, tender yet tyrannical. I answered clumsily. We were like two teenagers tasting forbidden fruit for the first time, telling each other of our love in the most instinctive way possible. On the carpet lay the divorce papers I'd just torn to shreds. Outside the window, the city sparkled with 10,000 lights. And in this tiny universe of ours, he and I had finally found each other. This time, no silver chain, no threats. Only willing surrender. I don't know how much time passed before everything settled. I was so exhausted I couldn't move a finger, clinging to him like an octopus. Dr. Sterling stroked my back in slow, gentle sweeps, soothing a frightened kitten. His chin rested on the crown of my head, his voice carrying a satisfied sigh. "From now on, tell me what you want, straight out. With words, or with your body. I'll give it to you. All of it." The next morning, I woke in Dr. Sterling's arms. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, warm and golden. When I opened my eyes, his handsome face filled my vision. In sleep, the usual cold madness was gone, his brows were relaxed, harmless as the boy next door. He really is outrageously good-looking. No wonder I fell head over heels at first sight and insisted on marrying him. Who knew that beneath this angelic face lurked a devil? I was lost in staring when his lashes fluttered and his eyes opened. 4 irises locked. His gaze was clear, not the least bit groggy. "Awake?" His voice held the husky rasp of dawn, sexy as hell. My face burned, I tried to wriggle free, but he tightened his arms and pinned me. "Lie with me a little longer." He buried his face in the hollow of my neck and nuzzled like a giant dog. "So ticklish. This is the aloof Professor Sterling? Did someone swap him out? Still, I think I like it." We lolled in bed for more than half an hour. Then his phone rang, the lab, urging him to a meeting. Reluctantly, he got up. I leaned against the headboard and watched him dress. White shirt, black trousers, each button fastened all the way to the collar. In the blink of an eye, the cold, abstinent Professor Sterling was back. But before settling his gold-rimmed spectacles, he glanced over his shoulder at me. Possessiveness and love in that gaze were thick enough to drip. "Wait for me at home. I'll check your homework tonight." Check. What homework? Before I could process, he dropped a good morning kiss on my lips and strode out, light-hearted. I lay alone, replaying his words, cheeks on fire. After the misunderstanding cleared, it was as if Dr. Sterling's hidden meridians had been unblocked. By day, the revered Professor Sterling. By night, an insatiable beast. The scholarly kind who wields professional knowledge to tease you into bliss. I was giggling into my hands when Chloe's call barged in. "Serena! Are you still alive? Did that Sterling freak hurt you? I've got a lawyer on standby. We can file a restraining order any second." Her righteous fury made me squirm. Yow, things sort of changed. What kind of change? Did he cripple you? No. I twisted the sheet. We got back together. 3 beats of silence, then an earth-shattering shriek. "What? Back together? Serena, did a door slam your head? After what he did? Do you have Stockholm Syndrome?" "It's not like that." I spilled the whole story, years of misunderstanding, Dr. Sterling's theory that I held back because I loved you too much. Ellis fell silent again, longer this time. "So," she said, dreamlike, "he wasn't impotent, he was hyperpotent, afraid he'd break you, so he kept bottling up?" "Pretty much. And your fake affair flipped his switch. Now he's professor by day, beast by night?" I flushed. "Must you be so crude? Holy crap!" Chloe shrieked again. "Serena! What kind of mythical husband is this? Endangered species. The nation should protect him for science. Can't your focus be normal for once? We bickered a while longer. When I hung up, I was floating. I hummed around the apartment. The pinhole cams that once terrified me had been removed. Dr. Sterling must have done it quietly. The place looked the way it used to, no, better, because now it held the warmth of actual people. That evening he came home right on time, a black velvet box in hand. For you. Inside was a chain identical to the one that had once circled my wrist, only this one was solid silver, dusted with tiny diamonds that caught the light and glittered. Why give me this? More games? Before I could ask, he slipped behind me, chin on my shoulder. He lifted the chain, not around my wrist, but like a necklace, laying it against my throat. It fit perfectly, a delicate choker. He admired my reflection, eyes dark. Pretty? Staring at myself in the mirror, throat sparkling, I burned with an indescribable mix of shame and thrill. Dr. Sterling kissed my earlobe, voice velvet and low. Serena, tonight, let's experiment with a new project, shall we? From then on, my life turned upside down. Dr. Sterling's possessiveness hadn't diminished, it had intensified. But he'd transformed it into lavish devotion. He took over every detail: food, clothes, transport. He cooked for me himself, designing each meal by nutrition science, stockpiling energy for the next project. He stuffed my walk-in closet with the newest season outfits and bags. My woman deserves the best. He even personally supervised my workouts. Reason given: let's sculpt those peach emoji glutes. Each time I collapsed on the yoga mat, he stood by, examining my curves with laboratory precision, then issued professional guidance. Sink your lower back another inch. Perfect. Hold that arc. Serena, your flexibility exceeds my projections. Help! Who can endure this? This isn't exercise, it's being visually strip-searched. So why am I so turned on? Our after-dark lab sessions multiplied in variety. Desk in the study, chaise on the balcony, counter in the bathroom, every surface became his bench. He'd deploy the most academic jargon to voice the lewdest commands. He'd perform the most tender motions while doing the filthiest things. From initial resistance to half-hearted refusal to craving more, I turned into a little succubus who couldn't live without him. One whim, I carried a bento to Eastbrook University, wanting to watch him teach. I arrived during a public lecture in a tiered hall. On stage he wore a white coat and gold-rimmed spectacles, every inch the eloquent scholar, quotes, data, irresistible poise. Co-eds in the audience gazed with hard eyes. Humph, ignorant little girls. You only know his A side, his B dash, C dash, D sides are mine alone. Just as I gloated, he sensed something and looked straight at me through the crowd. At an angle no one else caught, he curled his lips in a feather-light smile, predatory, carnal, meant only for me. My heart skipped, cheeks ablaze. Beast! Flirting in public, how dare he? That night I told him. He pressed me onto the bed, kissing my ear. That's nothing. Next time, sit front row. I'll lecture, just for you. On last night's project report. Later I asked, had I not confessed, would he really have gone after Coach? He was quiet a long time, then held me so tight I could barely breathe. Yes, I was insane with jealousy. I can't bear anyone, in any way, near you. Serena, you're mine alone. My goddess, and my forbidden sanctuary. Looking into the devotion and obsession in his eyes, I knew, we'll be tangled together for life. Fine by me. After all, who could refuse a man who's a saint by daylight and my rabid hound after dark? Thank you for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If you liked it, please like and share with friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more tales. See you next time.
The day the company went public, my husband Sebastian stepped right past me and, beneath the eyes of the world, swept his CFO Emery into an embrace.
At the victory gala the next evening, he raised his glass to her in front of everyone and called her his soulmate in battle. I walked on stage, smiled, and asked for a divorce. He snarled that I was blind to the big picture. He still didn't understand every inch of that big picture had been bought and paid for by my father in cold, hard cash. CEO, the game is over. From now on, I write the rules. Before we go any further, subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. The spotlights flooded the exchange floor and poured it into a golden ocean. Confetti, brightly colored, filled the air, scraping across nerves that had gone numb long ago. This was the finish line Sebastian and I had chased for 10 years. It was also the precise moment my love finally died. My husband, Sebastian, stood beside me in a hand-tailored Italian suit, shoulders squared, magnetism dialed up to maximum, the undisputed king of this glittering racetrack. When he struck the closing bell, the bronze roar rolled through the hall and shattered the last fragile shard of hope inside me. He spun around almost by instinct, arms flung wide, yet his gaze tracked like a cruise missile and streaked straight past me. I wore the charcoal Chanel gown his assistant Linda had chosen, under orders to keep me low-key, appropriate. Right now it turned me into a ghost, drifting untouched through the revelry. His stare was molten, unapologetic, and it locked on Emery. Emery blazed in a scarlet evening gown, a living flame. Sebastian carved through the crowd, and, while hundreds of shareholders, executives, and reporters watched, crushed her to him, tighter. He even lifted her off the floor and spun her in a full circle. That embrace shouted comrades in arms, post-victory trust, and an intimacy that felt almost indecent. The smile he wore could have outshone the sun, glory I hadn't seen since the night he proposed a decade ago. But in the years since, especially after Emery parachuted in as CFO 3 years back, that light had belonged to her alone. My knuckles whitened around the clasp of my crocodile handbag, nails biting crescents into my palm. The sting was nothing compared to the hollow where my heart used to be, a vacuum now howling with cold wind. I watched Emery nestle against his chest, tear-bright eyes perfectly timed, lips curled in the unmistakable smirk of a victor. Her gaze drifted across Sebastian's shoulder, floated over, and landed on me, lazy, pitying, brazenly triumphant. The applause surged, wave after wave, each clap a public flogging for my stupidity and defeat. Sebastian forgot, completely. He forgot it was I, Vivian, who sold the only downtown brownstone my grandmother left me so he could get the $5 million lifeline the company needed. He forgot that during the 2 hardest startup years, to save the salary of a single assistant, I, Ivy League graduate, cooked his meals at 2 a.m., drove him, ran errands, smiled at impossible clients, and drank until I hemorrhaged and woke in an ER. Yet every footnote in his success story now carries one name, Emery. She has become the only hero who carried him from garage to IPO. And I, Vivian, his lawfully wedded wife, am reduced to a blurry silhouette in the background, required only to stay quiet and look presentable. I stared at the two of them on the podium, then slowly uncurled my fingers. The pain in my palm ebbed, replaced by a numb hush. When a heart dies, it dies in silence, exactly like this. Fine. If he wants to declare my dismissal with such public, ritual spectacle, then Sebastian, I will end this farce with a ceremony you will never forget. The next night's victory gala filled the city's top hotel. The grand ballroom glimmered like a galaxy of crystal. Perfume and champagne collided in the air. Glasses met in bright, brittle music. Sebastian ruled the space like an absolute monarch, radiant, one hand cradling a flute of champagne, the other resting casually, possessively, at the small of Emery's back. Side by side they moved from table to table, hosts in perfect sync, and every person who knew I was his wife flinched at the sight. Emery wore fire again, crimson silk swaying, dazzling. I remained in grey, a plant wilting unnoticed in the corner. When Sebastian's glance brushed me, it carried a shadow of reproach, as if my monochrome palette had spoiled his photograph. At last came his speech. He thanked generous investor after investor, the loyal team, every partner. Then his gaze crossed the entire ballroom and settled once more, soft, worshipful, on Emery. But tonight the person I must thank most is singular. His voice thickened, almost breaking, my CFO, my right arm, my soulmate in battle, Emery. Without the devotion she has poured out these 3 years, none of this would exist. This glass is for you. Thunderous applause, every eye found her. She rose with demure theatrics, lifted her glass, love and pride brimming. They looked carved by fate for each other. And I, from start to finish, was the punchline. He never once thanked me. Just as Sebastian raised his flute to declare the feast open, I moved. I lifted the red wine I had barely touched, stepped slowly, deliberately, onto that brilliant stage. My stilettos tapped dull, deliberate against the wood. Da, da, da. The grand ballroom fell silent. I stopped in front of him, plucked the gold microphone from his stunned hand. Sebastian. My voice, cool, clear, flooded every corner of the hall. Congratulations, CEO. I raised my glass in a distant salute. On this night of universal celebration, I'd like to announce something too. I paused, swept my gaze across his suddenly rigid face, across Emery's smile that snapped tight, then spoke each word like a hammer blow. We are divorced. Boom. Silence detonated. The room felt vacuum-sealed. Sebastian's complexion cycled from white to iron grey to a furious, mottled purple. He lunged, seized my wrist, and hissed through clenched teeth. Vivian, have you lost your fucking mind? Do you even know what you're saying? What the hell do you think you're doing? His grip ground bone. Just because I didn't hug you yesterday, you're going to embarrass me in front of everyone? His voice shook with raw offense. Embarrass you? I laughed, and the sound was shrill, mocking in the hushed marble lobby. I wrenched my wrist free and stared straight into his eyes, now blazing with fury. Sebastian, you want to know what humiliation is? Our 3rd anniversary reservation confirmed, candles lit. One phone call from Emery claiming cramps, and you sprinted off with a heat patch and brown sugar water. I sat alone at that table like an idiot. Was that humiliating enough? My birthday, you flew her to Paris Fashion Week, swiped 6 figures for a full season of jewelry, while your assistant auto-sent me a 2-word happy birthday text. Humiliating yet? She grew the company with you, your indispensable genius. And me. I sold my grandmother's brownstone and cashed my parents' life insurance payout to plug your first gaping hole. What does that make me? My voice shook, but every syllable was a bullet aimed at that handsome, heartless face. In your world, Emery is the talent to guard with your life, while I, Vivian, am the disposable footnote you kick aside for the greater good, right? The words ripped from my throat, years of swallowed pride bleeding out in open air. Sebastian, your grand vision never had room for me, so I refused to be the stumbling block in it any longer. The barrage left him chalk-white, his lips parted, but no sound came. Under the ballroom's glitter, every scrap of his dignity lay shredded beneath my stilettos. Humiliation curdled into rage, his last shield. Fine, he barked. Vivian, you've got guts, real guts. He jabbed a trembling finger at me. Divorce. Then walk away with nothing. Don't come crawling back. Beg you. Watching him splutter, I felt the final ember of love die and turn cold. I gave a slow nod, my gaze now flat Arctic water. Relax, CEO. Tonight I'll teach you how to spell the word beg. I turned away, eyes locking on the dazed man in the front row, our chief legal counsel, Jordan. Into the microphone, calm and clear. Jordan, have your team run the numbers. My 5 million in founder shares, compounded to today's market cap, plus my marital share under New York equitable distribution law. I paused long enough to watch Sebastian and Emery blanch, then played my ace. Oh, and the 3 interest-free loans totaling 30 million my father Victor personally guaranteed and I held in trust. Time to invoice principal and accrued interest. The sentence detonated like a depth charge, gasps ricocheted through the ballroom. Jordan's usual sang-froid cracked, he adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses as if he'd misheard. Sebastian's face drained of color, pupils pinpricks of disbelief. What loan? He rasped. A cold smile. Keep pretending. Funny how forgetful the CEO is. 10 years ago, who wired the first 5 million to your joke of a pitch deck? I did. 7 years back, when payroll bounced and bankruptcy loomed, who pumped in another 30? Still me. I flicked my gaze to Emery, knuckles white against her silk skirt. Alex, as CFO you sign off every wire. Those 3 tranches tagged offshore venture, did you never trace the beneficial owner? Emery's lips quivered, no answer came. Sebastian had thought the 30 million a godsend from a faceless foreign fund. He never knew it was a shell Victor conjured in the Caimans with one phone call. He never guessed that Victor, supposedly a frail retiree, was the legend who once moved markets with a raised eyebrow. For years I'd blunted my edges, swallowed my name, played the supportive wife so his pride could breathe. And he truly believed the empire was self-forged, with me as the ornamental prop. Pathetic. Vivian. Sebastian found his voice, edges frayed with a plea he didn't even recognize. Let's go home and talk, not here. Home. I cut in. The penthouse I decorated but you haven't slept in for weeks. Or the West Village loft you share with Alex for late-night filings. Each sentence peeled another layer of color from his face. Emery swayed, near fainting. Done with the spectacle, I set the microphone gently back on the podium, stepped down, and walked. The crowd parted like the Red Sea, awe and dread glowing in every eye that had once looked through me. Straight to Jordan. Did you catch every clause? He snapped to attention, bowed almost imperceptibly. Crystal clear, Jamie. We'll open a war room tonight. I slipped him a card. My private counsel will coordinate. Then, spine straight, I crossed the grand ballroom while Sebastian's hoarse shouts echoed off crystal chandeliers and died behind me. Outside, late spring air brushed my cheeks like forgiveness. I inhaled until my ribs stopped aching. Free. I pulled out my phone and tapped a number I still knew by heart. It picked up on the first ring. Hey, kiddo, finally calling your old man? On the other end of the line, my father's voice boomed clear and hearty, laced with a teasing note. My eyes burned. I almost shed a tear, then forced it back. Dad, I said evenly, I'm divorced. A few seconds of silence, then a decisive, domineering verdict. Good riddance. My princess doesn't suffer a shred of insult. That punk, your old man never liked him. Wait right there. I'll send someone to seize his company this instant. His fierce daddy act made me laugh. Dad, no. I lowered my voice. This time, I want to do it myself. I want him and his soulmate to see, crystal clear, whose bones their precious empire stands on. And I want them to learn that without my big picture vision, they're nothing. Word of my divorce petition and demand for a full asset audit detonated across Wall Street the next morning like a magnitude 8 quake. Sebastian's stock opened limit down. Found a divorce shocker, record-breaking settlement looms. Control of listed giant at risk as mystery angel investor. Outrageous headlines flooded every financial outlet. Sebastian's phone melted. Yet every call, every WhatsApp, every text ricocheted toward me alone. At first, fury and threats. Vivian, you really want to play this dead end? You'll ruin me. Then bargaining. Vivian, 10 years of marriage, can't we talk? Name a figure, I'll pay. Let's end this quietly, okay? Finally, begging and repentance. Wife, I was wrong, so wrong. Come back. I'll cut Emery off, kick her out today. Please, just one more chance. I read them all, answered none, blocked every thread. Chance. Every chance died the night he humiliated me for her, the day he embraced her at IPO, the evening he crowned her his soulmate at our victory gala. I moved out of the ice-cold marital loft and into a midtown penthouse, an asset Dad had quietly placed in my name the day we married, one Sebastian never knew existed. My legal team moved like lightning. Within a week a thick valuation and equity split plan landed on my desk. For years Sebastian's mind had been on his romance with Emery. He barely understood the cap table anymore. Back then, to dodge regulatory risk and to let Dad pull strings in the shadows, my founder shares and later cash injections had been buried beneath layers of nominee agreements and offshore trusts. Once those documents surface, I walk away with half the marital fortune and, as majority shareholder, I can boot Sebastian from his chairman's seat whenever I please. Plain and simple, if I wish, he's out. Evidently his attorneys briefed him on the math. When calls and texts failed, he hunted me in person. That afternoon, while I huddled with counsel in the penthouse, the doorbell shrieked. On the video fob I saw his haggard, frantic face. Vivian, I know you're in there. Open up, we need to talk. I frowned at Jordan, Dad's star litigator, young, razor-sharp, unflappable. Call the precinct, I said. He reached for his phone, then I remembered something and stopped him. Wait. I walked over and opened the door. Sebastian lunged like a caged beast, bloodshot eyes begging, hands grabbing for mine. I stepped back. Vivian. His voice cracked. What do you want? Must we both burn? Both burn? I laughed. CEO, delusional much? You're facing liquidation. I'm repossessing what's always been mine. That's called restitution. At that moment a delicate figure slipped from behind him. Emery, eyes swollen, she gazed at me pitifully. Vivian. Chairwoman, she stammered, the title tasting foreign. It's my fault. Don't punish Sebastian. The company is his life, please don't destroy it. Smack. A crisp slap rang through the corridor. I moved so fast Sebastian didn't even flinch in time. Emery clutched her cheek, stunned. You hit me. Hit you. I flexed my wrist, gaze glacial. Alex, that was for the jade parure you borrowed for your mother. One of a kind, irreplaceable. Smack. Backhand. That one's for the Aston Martin you took to flaunt, crashed, then lied was only scratched. She reeled. Sebastian stood frozen. I stepped closer, voice a low blade only the three of us could hear. Emery, did you really think I was stupid all these years? You spent my money, wore my jewelry, slept in my bed with my husband, and played lady of the manor. I'm not dense. I was merely watching the sneaky rat. I kept you around to see how far Sebastian would throw his conscience over you. Now I have my answer. I lifted my eyes to Sebastian's ashen face. You two are a match made in gutter heaven. Straightening, I turned to Jordan. Notify the CEO's council. I'm withdrawing the settlement. Demand an emergency shareholder meeting. Move to remove Sebastian as chairman and CEO. I'm taking the company. No, Vivian, you can't. Sebastian shattered, charging to embrace me, rambling, I'll give everything back. Just leave me my company, it's my life. An iron arm barred his way. CEO, control yourself. A cool, deep male voice cut in. Startled, I looked over Adrian, heir to the Cross Empire, Sebastian's fiercest rival. Today he wore a steel-grey tailored suit, presence regal, eyes unreadable. He shielded me, surveying the wreckage that was Sebastian with detached amusement. Adrian, what are you doing here? Sebastian choked. Ignoring him, Adrian angled his head toward me, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. Chairwoman, long time no see. Looks like I picked an interesting moment to drop by. His gaze was open and direct, carrying a kind of pure admiration that made me self-consciously look away. Adrian and I weren't close, we'd only crossed paths at a handful of industry cocktail receptions. He's the rising star everyone on Wall Street whispers about, low-key in person, ruthless in practice, doubling the Cross family's empire in a handful of years. CEO, I said with a nod, treating it as a greeting. Something I can do for you. I had a small item on my list, wanted to discuss a deal with Chairwoman. He glanced down the corridor at the mess, smiled suggestively, and added, seems Chairwoman is busy with family housekeeping. No worries, I can wait. With that he leaned against the doorframe, perfectly relaxed, the picture of a man ready to enjoy the show. The pose detonated Sebastian's temper. Adrian, this is my family, none of your damn business. Vivian, what exactly is going on between you two? His jealousy and possessiveness erupted. He looked at me as if he'd caught me in flagranti. I almost laughed myself sick. Sebastian, you've lost the right to ask. Who I see is no longer your concern. I turned to Adrian and met his eyes for the first time. CEO, what deal did you have in mind? Come in. Jordan, see the guests out. Chairwoman, Jordan answered, stepping between Sebastian and me and sweeping an arm toward the exit. Vivian, you bitch. You've been sneaking around with Adrian all along, haven't you? Sebastian yelled, losing every shred of control. Adrian's expression darkened. He moved so fast I barely registered it. Thud, Sebastian was on the carpet, one cheek already coloring. Watch your mouth, Adrian said, looking down at him with arctic calm. You don't get to insult her. Sebastian stayed on the floor, palm to his jaw, dazed. With a shriek Emery dropped beside him, sobbing. Sebastian, are you okay? Call the police. We're calling the police. Adrian brushed imaginary lint from his lapel and gave a soft laugh. Go ahead, call them. Let the officers sort out criminal trespass, intimidation of the homeowner. The headlines practically write themselves. IPO darling turns jealous ex, Harris's wife, gets hauled to precinct. Sound good, CEO? His glance flicked up to the hallway camera. Should give the financial blogs something to gossip about tomorrow. Sebastian froze. He could afford shame. The company couldn't. The stock price was too fragile for another scandal. He hauled himself upright, glaring first at me, then at Adrian. Fine, fine. Vivian, Adrian, you'll regret this. He dragged the still whimpering Emery down the corridor and out of sight. The farce was finally over. I rubbed my temples, exhausted. Sorry you had to witness that, CEO. No problem. Opportunities for nightly rescues are rare. He studied my pale face and added more softly, besides, I owe chairwoman for the opening. The lightness in his tone loosened some of the tension inside me. Come in. I stepped aside to let him pass. Jordan, reading the room, disappeared to brew tea and then excused himself to organize files, leaving us alone in the sprawling living room. For a moment the silence felt delicate. Are you here about Sebastian's company? I asked finally. Partly. Adrian lifted his cup, tasting reverently, as if it were a Bordeaux. The truth is, CEO's firm is hollow. Your dad's quiet cash infusions kept it breathing long enough for the IPO. With you gone it's a glittering shell. Inside of 3 months it craters. He set the cup down. Chairwoman can't want the empire you midwifed to die in a headline stampede, right? I kept my eyes on him. Say what you came to say, CEO. I want to buy it. He leaned forward, elbows on knees, gaze locked on mine. Not from Sebastian, from you. Use your controlling stake to force him out, then sell me every share at market's top tick. After that, Cross Holdings recapitalizes the business, and you, Vivian, walk away with generational money and 0 headaches. The offer shimmered like a mirage, perfect revenge and instant freedom rolled together. But I wasn't just any wronged woman. I was Victor's daughter. I laughed softly. Nice math, CEO. Pick the bones while the carcass is warm, swallow an IPO-ready platform for pocket change, and kneecap your toughest rival in one move. Is there a sweeter deal on earth? Surprise flickered across his face, then ripened into open admiration. Conversations with the sharp are always short. So, Chairwoman, he asked, your answer? My answer. I rose, walked to the picture window, and looked down at the city glittering like circuitry. I'm not selling, CEO. I turned, meeting his stare. I'm keeping it. I'll run it myself, every division, every board seat. Whatever Sebastian accomplished, I'll eclipse. Whatever he refused to give me, I'll seize on my own. I want him awake every dawn, watching the stock feed, knowing the thing he cherished most is blooming under the name he tried to erase. That's the sentence that will hurt him longest. Adrian studied me for several heartbeats, then smiled an unfeigned, thrilled smile. All right, he said, standing. Let's rewrite the structure. He extended his hand. Chairwoman, would you accept a strategic investment from Cross Holdings? I bankroll the turnaround. In return I want 1 seat on the reconstituted board. I looked at his outstretched palm, then slipped mine into it. Deal, CEO. Deal, Chairwoman. His grip was warm, steady, heat I felt all the way to my pulse. The emergency shareholder meeting convened on schedule. When I walked in, hand tucked through Adrian's arm, holding absolute control and the proxy of our new investor, Sebastian's face went paper white. Beside him Emery didn't dare lift her gaze. The session turned into a rout, my father's legal team laying out ironclad proof that my proxy shares and debt positions were rock solid. Adrian's team, with a pitch-perfect investment plan, painted a future so dazzling that no small shareholder could resist. The motion to strip Sebastian of his chairmanship passed unanimously. The motion to elect me, Vivian, as the new chairman also passed unanimously. From start to finish Sebastian never uttered a word, he simply stared at me with those dead eyes. Only when the meeting ended and I appointed Adrian vice chairman and announced the formation of a new management committee to restructure the company did he finally crumple, as though the last ounce of strength had been sucked from him, and slump in his chair. Emery, Sebastian's so-called right hand, was turned over to the authorities the very next day on charges of embezzlement and breach of fiduciary duty. Every dime she'd siphoned out of the company over the years I made her spit back, down to the last cent. What awaits her now is the full force of the law. Sebastian still holds a slice of founder stock, but he has lost every shred of influence. He has been reduced from the swaggering, absolute monarch of a public company to a sidelined gentleman of leisure whose quarterly dividend depends on my mood. I know that for a control freak like him, this is a fate worse than death. My first day in office, I took a scalpel to the org chart. Every loyalist who had carried Sebastian's or Emery's water was swept out. With the killer instincts Dad drilled into me and Adrian's inexhaustible firepower, I steadied the ship almost overnight. After a brief dip, the stock price reversed violently and punched through every ceiling we'd ever had. Under my watch, Sebastian's company is finally, truly, glorious. He came to see me several times. The first time he blocked my office door, posture humble, begging me to spare Emery. I simply said, "CEO, we live under the rule of law. She broke it, she pays. If you want to save her, hire the best lawyer money can buy." The second time he showed up blind drunk, shouting my name beneath the building, insisting he loved me, had always loved me, that he was sorry. I never even went downstairs. Security escorted him out. Love. His love is cheap, and it arrives far too late. I'm no longer the Vivian who melted at a sugary sentence. Adrian treats me well. Our partnership is seamless. He never second-guesses me, yet whenever I need steel beneath my feet, he supplies the sharpest advice and the deepest pockets. He remembers to bring me soup dumplings from the hole in the wall I love. When I burn the midnight oil, he drapes a coat over my shoulders without a word. When a deal closes and I laugh too loudly, he watches me with a gaze so tender it could drown a woman. That gaze is pure appreciation, pure cherishing. I bury myself in work, drunk on the rush of steering my own life. I neither encourage nor reject his attentions until the night I leave the tower after midnight and find him leaning against his car under the street lamps. "Why are you still here?" "Waiting for you." "Waiting why?" He opens the passenger door, lifts out a slim box, and hands it to me. Inside, a pair of Chanel ballet flats, classic, buttersoft, my exact size. "You march through this place in stilettos all day. Looks exhausting. Change into these. I'll drive you home." That moment, something inside me cracked wide open. Sebastian had only ever cared whether my evening gown cost enough to reflect well on him. He never wondered how those 4-inch heels carved my feet. Details can kill. Details can also save. I said nothing. I slipped off the stilettos and stepped into the flats. The relief was so perfect it almost made me cry. I got into his car. He said nothing more, only pulled into the night and glided toward my loft. Soft music, hush of tires, city lights smearing past like calm water. As we neared my building, he spoke at last. "Vivian, move in with me." I blinked. He rushed on. "The estate has more bedrooms than I can count, pick whichever you like. I just don't like thinking of you alone." I studied his profile, the streetlights stroking the gentle line of his jaw, laying shadow in his eyes. I smiled. "All right." 1 year later, at the Global Leaders Summit in Zurich, I step onto the stage as Asia's most watched new titan. Immaculate white pantsuit, hair coiled, voice steady, I deliver my keynote in flawless English. When I finish, the hall erupts. Backstage in the green room, I find someone I never expected. Sebastian. A year has aged him a decade, face drawn, temples silvered, fire extinguished. He looks at me with a tangle of regret, resentment, and Casey. "Vivian." His voice is gravel wrapped in foolish hope. "I watched your speech." "Brilliant." "Riley," I answer, polite, as if greeting a distant acquaintance. The distance stings him. He steps closer, almost pleading. If on IPO day I'd embraced you, would everything have turned out differently?" The question he has swallowed every single day. I gaze at the man I loved for 10 years and hated for one, and feel nothing. I shake my head, calm and final. "Sebastian, you still don't get it. The problem was never that embrace. Even if you'd held me that day, on our anniversary you'd still have rushed to Emery because she mentioned a stomachache. Your gifts would still have reached her first. Your grand vision would still have had no seat reserved for me. Because long ago you cast me in the role of the woman who deserved to give everything and expect nothing, didn't you?" My words flay the last shred of self-deception from him. He recoils, ash-gray, until the wall is the only thing keeping him upright. The light in his eyes goes out. I turn away. In the doorway, Adrian waits, smiling. He takes my folder and clutch as naturally as breathing, then drapes his own cashmere coat over my shoulders. "Cold out there." "You were magnificent." Pride and love shine naked in his eyes. I slip my arm through his. Together we walk out, leaving Sebastian drowning in despair and endless regret. The corridor beyond is blazing with light. A road of glass and gold beneath our feet, leading to the brilliant future already unfolding ahead. A month before our wedding, Chase brought his white moonlight Brielle home. Serena, Brielle's back in town for vacation. A girl alone in a hotel isn't safe, so I figured she could crash with us for a few days. You don't mind, right? Brielle slipped her arm through mine. Ellis, don't paint Serena as some petty shrew. It's all about girl help girl. She couldn't bear to leave me alone in some lonely hotel room. I shook her off. So you do know we're getting married soon? Then why is one of you forgetting male virtue and the other wifely virtue? In a huff, Chase grabbed Brielle's hand and stormed out. Weeks later, he texted me late at night. A deep male voice answered the call. Who's this? Chase hesitated half a beat before replying. Who the hell are you? Serena is my fiancé. Got it, Emery. You found some guy to make me jealous? Newsflash, that trick is useless on me. The guy on the other end rummaged through a drawer and fished out a marriage certificate. He snapped a photo and sent it over. Buddy, help me out, how do you read these 3 words on the cover? You say Serena's your fiancé? Serena and I are already husband and wife, so does that make me your fiancé? Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. Chase, tonight either she walks, or you both walk, your choice. Seeing me strip him of face in front of everyone, Chase's expression darkened. Serena, Brielle and I are just friends now. Don't overthink it. We're still getting married. Serena, I'm only back to catch up with Ellis, Brielle chirped. I'm not heartless. Just because we broke up doesn't mean we have to cut each other off. Ellis and I are done romantically, but the friendship's still there. Besides, I'm already engaged, my fiancé doesn't mind, so why are you clamping down so hard when you two haven't even signed a marriage certificate? She folded her arms and pouted. So you do know we're about to tie the knot. Then why is one of you forgetting male virtue and the other wifely virtue? If you insist on keeping her here, fine. Let me remind you, not only are we about to get married, we're also about to not get married. Serena, who exactly are you threatening with marriage? Your engraved invitations are already mailed. Cancel the wedding and see whose face is plastered all over Instagram. When you're left standing at the altar with no groom, don't come begging me. Brielle, let's go. Before leaving, Brielle sniped at me one last time. It's the 21st century and you're still this uptight. A woman who won't let her man have female friends is totally lacking in empathy. Chase clasped Brielle's hand and slammed the door behind them. I hooked it shut with my foot so it sealed with a final click. I hadn't just learned about Chase reconnecting with his ex months earlier, he'd started taking business trips abroad, always to the same country, England. More than once I wondered, who on earth is in England? Only when Jolene mentioned it did I connect the dots. Brielle had gone to grad school there after college. I'd seen Brielle's photos on Chase's Instagram, and Jolene had remarked we looked somewhat alike. I hadn't felt it, but when Brielle stood before me in the flesh, I froze. The vibe was different, yet at first glance the resemblance was enough to confuse even me. No wonder Chase claimed love at first sight back then, pursuing me with manic intensity. The day he confessed, he ladled on every syrupy cliché in the book. Turns out it was all camouflage, so no one would notice I was a stand-in for the white moonlight he truly loved. I used to think he was just a hopeless romantic. Now I knew the clown was me. The moment Brielle and Chase stepped out, Jolene stepped in. I played her the surveillance clip of the showdown. She practically levitated with rage. Come on, girl, we're ditching the scumbag and celebrating your rebirth. The pair's theatrics had left me with a pounding headache. All I wanted was to crawl into bed. But I knew Jolene would never let me off that easy. She practically forced me into makeup and a fresh outfit, then dragged me out for drinks to meet the abs superstar CEO I'd heard so much about yet never seen. Tonight was her company retreat. Knowing I'd been dumped, she refused to leave me home alone to wallow and hauled me to the party instead. Partly to vent, partly, let's be honest, to sneak a peek at those legendary abs. The tiny snag. Their boss was tied up with work and hadn't shown. Still, he'd promised to chauffeur everyone home since they'd be drinking, especially the women. Jolene said he always personally sees employees to their doors after retreats, company tradition. I was still marveling at the existence of such a thoughtful boss when a tall man in a deep navy suit pushed through the door, his frame solid muscle. The room erupted in cheers at his arrival. From my angle I caught only those long legs. I'd had enough drinks that standing felt negotiable, so I tucked myself into a corner. Then Jolene towed him over. "Serena, meet our boss, Adrian." "Who, Adrian?" That name's everywhere these days. I looked up and collided with eyes framed by long lashes. "Boss, this is my bestie, Serena." The moment he heard my name, any doubt vanished. He was the white moonlight of my high school years, Adrian. "You two know each other?" "More than know, we're pretty tight." "Sunny day, doll?" Mortification washed over me. I dropped my gaze, but the blood had already raced to my ears, painting them scarlet. Jolene, tipsy and blunt, squinted at me. "Serena, why are you glowing red? I haven't even shown you his abs yet." Adrian stepped half a pace closer, barely noticeable, yet close enough to set every nerve alight. "What? Already demanding to see my abs the second we reunite?" At that moment I wanted to tunnel through the floor and drag them all in after me. The room was chilly, the alcohol haze lifted enough for a shiver. Adrian didn't press the tease. He simply shrugged off his suit jacket and draped it across my lap. "Hold this for me," he said, then pivoted back to the crowd and started rolling dice. I couldn't help tracking him through the throng. Under the translucent white shirt, the ridges of his abs flickered in and out of view. As for his face, childish innocence had been etched away into something deeper. Every move carried the same cool, rain-still composure I remembered. My phone buzzed Chase. He'd sent a half-naked selfie, skin and bones, basically a scrawny monkey. You didn't need 3 guesses. Brielle had obviously swiped his phone to send that text. I snapped a clandestine half-body shot of Adrian and pinged it back. "Life's short. If you're going to eat something worth chewing. Shovel trash into your mouth and it'll poison you." Past midnight, the world fuzzy around the edges, Adrian asked a coworker to drive the drunk ones home. When he eased me into the passenger seat, circled to the driver's side, and fired the engine, it hit me he hadn't touched a drop all night. "Serena, you're getting married?" The moment he stepped through the door, he spotted the framed engagement photo on the table. I yanked the frame and hurled it into the trash. "I don't marry dogs." I reflexively kicked the armchair beside me only to lose my balance and tumble straight into Adrian's chest. He caught me before I hit the floor. "Then what about me? What? Am I human or am I dog?" Heat scorched my cheeks. I wriggled free. "Ooh, you just puked wine on my shirt." I glanced at his chest. Sure enough, a dark stain bloomed across the cotton. Probably when he'd steadied me, a wave of dizziness had surged and I'd burped Brielle's mellow right onto him. "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to." If apologies fixed everything, we could fire every cop in the country. "What do you want, then?" "Take out your phone." "Heh. Add me so you can pay for the dry cleaning." Oh, he only wanted money. I whipped out my cell, woke the screen, and from his angle he looked straight down at the chat thread still open with Chase, complete with the obvious stealth photo of him. I swiped it away, but when I caught Adrian's smug little smirk I knew the damage was done. He added himself to my contacts, then waved the phone at me on his way out. "So tonight you ate and drank pretty well." "Good to know." I covered my face, ready to teleport to another planet. My phone exploded with pings the next morning. An unfamiliar group thread called Beyond Chase had 99 plus new messages. "Brielle, I'm dropping that pic of you and Ellis from last night here. Look at Ellis and Brie, match made in heaven, total fairytale couple. If Brie's family hadn't shipped her off to England back then, those two would have a kid in grade school by now. Stop, guys. Ellis and Serena are the ones getting married. I only see Ellis as a big brother." "Brother? From the way you two looked last night, I saw steamy romance, not family bonding." Reading it made my blood boil. Noticing Brielle owned the group, I realized the game immediately. I flicked through the photos, several caught Chase staring at Brielle's profile like she invented sunlight. I'd never seen that silky longing directed at me. Of course the first love glows brighter. I meant to ignore them, but Brielle at me. Serena, don't be mad. I started this group so people could share group pics. Since you and Ellis are about to marry, I wanted total transparency. They're only joking, don't take it seriously. I answered with a cold laugh. You love adding people. Why not drag your mom in here for transparency too? I refused to bicker like a grade schooler. After that line I exited the chat, wasting another second on garbage would insult the cloudless sky overhead. I stretched, ready to get up and brush my teeth, when my phone buzzed again. Figuring Brielle wanted round 2, I rolled up my sleeves only to find a text from Adrian. Lakeside Park, today. You owe me. Remembering last night's cringe, I pulled the quilt over my head for a full minute before facing reality. A park meetup meant leggings, a tank, and a perky ponytail. I was heading out when I ran into Chase waltzing in. What are you doing back? A pack of his buddies shadowed him. Serena, I'm packing. Brielle and I are flying to England for a while. Consider this your official notice. The wedding is off. I stared, baffled. What does that even mean? It means I'm dumping you. Fine. Pack thoroughly, leave nothing. I never want to see a trace of you again. He let out a sarcastic chuckle. Still pretending, Serena? Will it take losing me completely before you learn how to spell regret? Don't blame me for being ruthless. If you grovel right now, maybe I'll stick around a few extra days and give this relationship a proper ending. Pass. I have standards, once something's filthy, I don't touch it. I've got plans, so if you'll excuse me, finish up and shut the door on your way out. I strode toward the exit. Chase barked after me, Serena, step outside and we're finished, forever. Take all the time you need, you're not worth a second of mine. Oh, and tell Brielle she can drop the hostility. These days, I'm dining quite well. A furious thud shook the door behind me. Honestly, I'd never seen Chase lose his cool like that. Was it bruised ego or wounded pride? The answer no longer mattered. One of his buddies muttered, Ellis, she just left. Think she's actually done? Her face was ice cold, doesn't look like a tantrum. Weren't you saying she can't live without you? That she'd cling to you begging even if it killed her? Bro, you overplayed it. She's pissed for real. Let her walk now and you've lost her for good. She'll come crawling. A bride can't show up to a wedding without a groom. Where exactly did Chase get that confidence? I snickered, swung onto my bike, and pedaled toward Lakeside, 10 times lighter now that the trash had taken itself out. I really ought to thank Brielle. Better to learn the jerk's true colors before the vows than after. Ruin my moment. Fine. Ruin my life. Not a chance. Adrian was sitting on a long bench, fingers long and knuckles sharp. Lazy posture, yet still aloof, proud. He wore casual sweats, the ridges of his abs showed clearly through the tight, solid-colored tee. You're here. Sit. He radiated such a powerful aura that anyone beside him felt uneasy. The bench was wide, but I barely touched a third of it. Right, you said I should pay you. How much was the shirt? I'll send it right now. Bringing up money the instant we meet, okay, a little rude. Or I could buy you the exact same one again. When did I ever ask you to pay me back? I unlocked my phone and double-checked the message he'd just sent. You literally texted it. Forgot already? See for yourself. Oh, typed too fast, wrong character. Which one? I skimmed the screen, only a few words total. The only possible typo that made any phonetic sense was the verb pay. Keep me company. My face flashed crimson. Blood rushed to my head, my mind went blank. I had no idea what to say next. You came looking for me last night on purpose, didn't you? Still carrying a torch? No. I didn't know Jolene's boss was you. Into abs guys these days? Adrian leaned in. Why so red? Don't tell me you're still into me, been pining all these years. Not a single question I could answer out loud, yet I had to try. I really don't. But the shyer I got, the more relentless he became. Serena, you stutter when you lie, and you blush when you stutter. Right now you look exactly like the day we graduated, when you swore you'd never loved me. I stared at a drifting leaf spinning in the air. The little vortex swept my mind back to the big tree in high school court. Adrian had sat behind me. For 3 years he chased me with everything he had until my frozen heart began to burn. I wasn't not in love, our school just crucified any hint of puppy love. A boy and girl standing too close could land on the expulsion list, no discussion. Even straight-A students got no leniency. Adrian topped every exam, he could have walked into Princeton or Stanford. I kept rejecting him because I couldn't let him torch his future for me. Months before the college entrance test he confessed again. Crushed by stress, I mumbled yes. He was over the moon, yet never distracted me until I heard from his best buddy that he planned to follow me to the same mediocre college. Panic. Our score gap was huge, I wasn't worth that sacrifice. But Adrian was stubborn. Once he decided, a herd of bulls couldn't drag him back. So I staged scenes with another guy, let Adrian explode with jealousy, and, when he confronted me, said the cruel words, "I never loved you." He still made it to Princeton. Years later, at Jolene's company retreat, I ran into the boy I once loved. "You knew back then that I was lying?" "Yeah, Serena." I looked away for a minute. "How'd you end up married?" His brows knitted. "What's that supposed to mean?" "I knew you didn't want me stuck in Riverdale for love, so I went to Princeton like you wanted. I hated long distance. I planned the moment I graduated I'd come back and ask you again. Then the second I packed, your wedding announcement hit my inbox. In that much of a rush. Chase and I were college classmates. If I admitted it, I fell for him fast because, around the eyes, he carried a few strokes that reminded me of Adrian, just enough to pull me under. After graduation I hadn't planned to marry so soon, but Chase's mom pushed hard. Through the years he wasn't awful, just lukewarm. I had everything everyone else had, yet something vital was missing. He always said I was cold, never let him in. With Adrian in front of me, I wanted to pour every secret out. He proposed, I said yes. Without Brielle's appearance, we'd probably be married by now in front of family and friends. "Serena, pay me." Adrian almost growled, snapping me out of the memory. "Tell me the amount. You made me wait years, pay me with a Serena." "Fine. I'll pay." He pulled me into his arms. My tears soaked the same patch of fabric stained red by last night's wine. He'd hugged me once in high school too. I'd bombed a mock exam, felt life was over, squatted under that tree sobbing. Adrian wrapped me up, patted my back, whispered it's okay over and over. Whether it was his arms or his voice, some power in them let me sleep soundly that night, all dread forgotten. He leaned closer. "Serena, can I call you my girlfriend now?" I kissed the crease between his brows, his lips brushed from the tip of my nose to the corner of my mouth. The long empty space inside me filled at last. Right then I almost wished Chase and Brielle would fly abroad and leave Adrian and me in peace forever. Only when I really studied Adrian's face did I realize Chase looked nothing like him. "When's the ceremony?" What ceremony? You can't take advantage and run. Give me a title so you can keep taking liberties the rest of your life." We got our marriage certificate the very next day. Wedding imminent, he didn't slack for a second, dropped his workload, accompanied me to gown fittings, photo shoots, florist meetings, hotel rehearsals. Compared with Chase the hands-off fiancé, it was pure devotion. Even Jolene joked her boss's absence would bankrupt the company. I did urge him to focus, but I'm jobless these days. I handled plenty alone before, I could manage now. Adrian tapped my forehead and told me not to be such a lovesick fool. A wedding belongs to two people, and so does love. These days Chase had been flooding Instagram, close-up selfies with Brielle, sunset kisses on the beach, every clip captioned with the same red heart. I didn't delete them, I kept them for the comedy value. I was curled around my phone and accidentally double-tapped. Barely 2 minutes later, Chase sent a voice note. Serena, ceremony's almost up. Your house must be a circus right now. Imagine the headlines: bride dumped days before the altar. Your reputation? Toast. Beg me, butter me up, and maybe, just maybe, I'll hop a flight home and still marry you. I didn't notice when Adrian stepped out of the shower. He loomed behind me, snatched the phone, and in a baritone that could shake crystal growled, "Buddy, who exactly are you?" Funny thing, if word gets out a groom cheated with his white moonlight and still got ditched, does that ruin his good name? Oh wait, good name implies you're human. My mistake. I burst out laughing. Adrian captured the giggle on the recording. No idea if my wife plans to sweet talk you, and I don't care. You just handed me the perfect punch line. Thanks, bro. Do us all a favor, stay gone. We've already got 2 grooms booked. The more suitors compliment my wife, the better I look. Can't risk sharing the stage with you, it'd trash my brand. Suck it up until we're legally hitched, then you can come home. I'll never understand why Chase chose to poke Adrian. The man's tongue is sharper than a box cutter. Chase must still be buffering. Adrian waited, but the silence stretched so long he muttered that the guy's pedigree looked purebred, yet his nerves couldn't beat a housepup's. At last a delayed reply popped up. Who the hell are you? Serena's my fiancée. How'd she become your wife? Then, moments later, oh, I get it. You hired an actor to rile me. Cute. Not gonna work. Adrian tore through the suite, unearthed our marriage certificate, and snapped a cover shot to Chase. Pal, can you pronounce these 3 words? If Serena's still your fiancée, and she's already hitched to me, doesn't that make me your fiancé? Congrats, we're engaged. He switched to his own camera roll, fished out a handful of high school photos of us, dropped them in the chat, and topped the flood with twin red hearts. When the storm passed, he ruffled my hair. So, honeymoon. Where to? He only wanted the destination. The rest, he said, was already uploading in his head. Chase rang non-stop. I let every call rot. Adrian shrugged. He's out of my weight class. If I actually make him cough blood, I'd have to donate mine, too much paperwork. He refused to block Chase, knowing blocked numbers just mutate into new ones. Better to keep the chat alive, and roast him until the mere sight of my name gave him indigestion. A joke, maybe, but the comfort felt real. Part of me hated marrying Adrian the same day and in the same ballroom I'd reserved with Chase. It felt unfair to the man I truly loved. My relatives had flown in from the heartland. They rarely saw Chase, so swapping grooms would slide right past them. Patching the hole was easy, erasing the stain didn't feel right. More than once I wanted to announce the cancellation outright. Then pick another weekend for Adrian and me. Adrian wouldn't hear it. He didn't want me skewered by gossip. If anyone had to swallow bitterness, it would be him. A ceremony's just scenery, he said. What matters is who stands on that stage and whether their love can set it on fire. You poured months into this production, why gift it to a scumbag? He doesn't deserve it. I do. This isn't your fault. Blame me for not fighting harder back then, for showing up late. Honestly, I can't out-argue Adrian. Since he arrived, he's commandeered the whole event. His line, "The wedding is now co-authored by us." Since Chase never lifted a finger. None of this belongs to him anymore. Thank you, Chase, for fast-tracking the one chance he'd ever need to wed the only woman he's ever pictured at the end of an aisle. Chase still barrages me. The second he hears the rasp in my hello, he hangs up. I haven't spotted Brielle on Instagram since. But at 2 a.m. Chase's texts crawl in. Serena, I know you love me. Marrying that guy is just a stunt to punish me, right? I'm boarding a flight home. Let's talk. There's been a misunderstanding. After everything we've shared, you can't just erase us. Brielle and I are only friends. If you don't want her in the guest house, I'll cut her off, forever. I can already see you walking toward me. No bride has ever looked that beautiful. I sleep early. Adrian's the night owl, so he's always first to the melodrama. Dude, are you writing a web novel? Pick a lane, CEO tyrant or tragic second lead. Pretty sure you're just the cheating ex. Trash ML chasing his crematorium? Spoiler: audiences don't cry, they roast you alive. Next morning I'd read Adrian's replies and laugh, thinking, Chase, why keep volunteering for public humiliation? On the morning of the ceremony, Adrian begins attendance control. Chase apparently never told his side the wedding was off, still clinging to the fantasy of groom of honor. By the time reality hit, it was too late to recall the clan. So a swarm of hawthorns show up anyway. Adrian greets them with a grin. Hi, are you with Chase? Wrong production. This is Serena. Adrian, take 2. The original groom got cut for being ugly inside. Kindly exit. The front desk will refund your gift money. It left every Hawthorne relative wearing the same bewildered frown. Afraid no one would believe him, Adrian even marched the marriage certificate around like a hall pass. But the groom clearly wasn't Chase, so they couldn't exactly object. If your name got called, you just slipped away in silence. Once this leaks out, the Hawthorne side will be left without a shred of face. Adrian still came over to claim credit. I won't name names, but somebody's the one who really lost face. Jolene stood to the side sporting the world's smuggest auntie grin. Classic my boss move. Half the ceremony had rolled by without a hitch when it hit me. I never saw Chase's wedding crash stunt coming. He shoved open the ballroom doors and every head swiveled in perfect, mocking unison. He must have sprinted straight from the jetway. He was still dragging a carry-on. Serena, I'm here. The host nearly swallowed his mic. In all his years he'd never actually faced a runaway groom-turned-gatecrasher moment. What is this? Adrian first squeezed my hand, then gave me a steady smile that said, don't be scared. Whatever happens, I'm right here. The promise flooded me with courage. On this make-or-break stage I would face the man who once broke me. I wouldn't let Adrian shoulder it alone. Adrian plucked the microphone from the frozen MC. I'm sure you're all shook, don't worry. I've stocked every table with fruit and nuts. Feel free to munch while you watch. I guarantee tonight's episode beats Netflix. Floor's yours, ex-fiancé. Gasps rippled through the room. Guests whispered behind cupped hands. Serena, that spot was supposed to be mine. It's my fault I'm late. Hit me, scream at me, just don't leave me, okay? Chase closed the distance step by step, each footfall drawing a fresh tear down his cheek. I know you still love me. Stop this game and come with me, please. You once told me you wanted a perfect wedding. We can start over right now. Just as he reached the edge of the stage, I flicked my hand. Stop. Chase, I never loved you. You promised a perfect wedding, but a perfect wedding needs a perfect groom. Do you qualify? Serena, I'm apologizing, all right? Don't punish me like this. Marrying some random guy will ruin your life. A sharp clack, Chase dropped to his knees on the marble. If you won't take me back, I'll stay like this forever. Buddy, then pity your kneecaps, we'll try to speed things up. Adrian stepped in front of me and addressed him. The room exploded in laughter. Chase scanned the crowd, shame flushing his face, and lowered his head. Before that sideshow ended, Brielle burst in. She yanked at Chase with all her strength. Chase, this woman isn't worth it. Let's go. He flung her off. Why are you still here? I told you to get lost. If you hadn't meddled, I'd be the one on that stage. You think I don't see your green tea games? You dumped me years ago because I couldn't pay your study abroad tabs. Now that I'm loaded you crawl back. I was only playing. Did you honestly believe you outrank Serena? Brielle broke down sobbing under the chandeliers. But Adrian and I knew the tears were just another act, her favorite trick for sympathy. She'd schemed so hard to steal Chase. She wouldn't bail over a few harsh lines. Chase, you've misunderstood. I never meant to hurt you and Serena. Brielle even knelt, pleading for him. Serena, Chase truly loves you. It's all my fault. Hate me all you want, just don't blame him. Bravo, Oscar-worthy. So, Chase, your eyes do work, you spotted the green tea. And Brielle, Your brain still fires, you know he loves me. You two trash souls fit perfectly, you should stay chained together for life. Efficient. How about you marry them next? Everyone here can sign as witnesses. Adrian's spur-of-the-moment suggestion left the whole ballroom howling. By now the audience understood exactly what this so-called love crusade really was. Seeing his stunt flop and himself turned into a meme, Chase lost interest, funneled all his rage toward Brielle, and half-pushed, half-dragged her out of the hotel. Adrian even gave them a cheerful wave. Bye-bye, don't come back. Honestly, thank you for tonight's free show. As you've all witnessed, Serena and I choose each other firmly, irrevocably. No person, no spectacle can shake that. Applause thundered. The ceremony continued, though the host stammered, still rattled. When it came time to recite vows to Adrian, I felt the full force of my love, and saw, maybe for the first time, the depth of the love he'd hidden for years. For one dizzy second I was grateful Brielle had barged in. She hadn't derailed my destiny, only a train wreck that would have ended in ruin. After the reception Adrian and I flew abroad to honeymoon, planning to stay away 10 years, maybe 8, before even thinking of Riverdale again. At the airport I caught a fleeting glimpse of Chase and thought I was hallucinating from exhaustion. Then Adrian stepped away to buy coffee, and Chase materialized in front of me, eyes hollow, stubble thick, a world away from the glowing boy in those selfies with Brielle. For a moment I doubted my own sight. Then he spoke my name. Serena, am I really losing you forever? There's nothing to lose, we never truly met. All those years together, how can you toss them aside? Trash sits for years and you still pick it right up. When will you come back? You always waited for me before, now it's my turn. However long, I'll wait. Suit yourself. Serena, please don't leave. I can't live without you. I'll do anything to make this right, tell me how to survive losing you. Adrian popped up beside me, hoisted our carry-on with one hand. It was boarding time and I had no wish to linger with the stubborn jerk. I turned to go, only to hear Adrian land one last jab, can't figure out how to live. Then don't. I snorted a laugh. Adrian slid an arm around me. We pivoted away together. I leaned to his ear and murmured, "Keep talking, your trash talk is perfection." You didn't let him off easy either. The plane lifted, punching through cloud after cloud, watching the city shrink to specks. I realized the past weighed nothing. The only thing worth holding was Adrian, resting his head on my shoulder like a kid, muttering "love you" even in his sleep. Right then I knew my real life had finally begun. Thanks for listening to today's story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you enjoyed the video, please like and share it with friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more tales. See you next time.